May the words of my mouth and the meditation of mine heart be acceptable in Yahweh's sight. He is our strength and our Redeemer. And it is in His name, which is His authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, project, and protect today's message. Amen. Hola, mi nombre es Kofi. ¿Cómo está? Bonjour, je m'appelle Kofi. Ça va? Ni hao, namaste, Osaya, Anakitawaya, Ohio. I see you. Habari gani? Ako aba, etesen. Jambo, mibindi Kofi, ni nafuraha kukutana na wewe. Bakwatav, Tadach Yastel, Kwam Yastel, Barak Yastel, Barak Allah Sham Yachava, Shalom Allah Sham Yachava. Atnai Kofi, Kohelet, servants of Christ, Mashalom Hey. Hello, everybody. I'm Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servants of Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time by being the voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. We're appreciative of your presence today. Thank you for being on with us. One more again. Hopefully, you guys can see me all right. Got a little interesting setup here today, but we're going to make it work. Thank you for spending some time with us. Hopefully, you all will get something out of this word. Having to come over here to Kofi_42, at least for today. Hopefully, TikTok will get it in gear and rescind the penalty that they put upon us for supposedly promoting hate speech by saying that people should be all right with their own culture. But thank you guys for being on today. We're going to continue to meet the mark, meet our positions. And we will be on here on TikTok as well for the evening later on. So if you're looking for us later on, we'll be on this same TikTok channel the way we normally are in our weekday evenings anyways. But we're thankful and grateful to you guys for being on. Give me 1 second, y'all. Sorry if you're on TikTok, you want to disappear just for a second. Make sure our battery's going well. So we thank you guys on all these platforms, on all these devices, on all these you come to spend some time with us. We appreciate you. Whether you're with us on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, we appreciate you so much. Thank you for being on. Let's go ahead and say hello to everybody and let's get into this word. So shalom, once again, peace be upon everybody. How you doing? Hello, everybody. How you doing, Sister Beverly? How you doing, Minister Shantae? Once again, I apologize. It was on me for last night. Prayerfully, we can get you on here this evening. And we'd like to actually probably do some Q&A this evening. So maybe if you can be prepared for that. I know I haven't had a chance to talk to you, so I'm doing public business here, but if you'll pray about it, I'll contact you as soon as I can afterwards, and we'll see if you can in fact be on today. I apologize for yesterday. How you doing, Elroy? How you doing, Sister Denise? Always listening in. Hello to everybody. Shalom. How you guys doing? Hopefully everybody gets the memo and they can come on over to Kofi_42. How you doing, Brother Keith, Minister Tamara, Sage, Sister Latoya, Don I am, Sir Stephen, Yallah. Thanks for being on. Excellent, brother. How you doing, Coco? Everybody. Let's see. Okay, amen. So as people are coming in, I know we don't have as many because they moved our stuff, but we'll go ahead and get into this word. Thank you guys so much for being on and attending and looking for us and finding us. Hashtag find Kofi, hashtag SOC. Thank you for being on with us this rising. So today we're going to continue our animalistic behavior series, and what we'd like to do today on this rising is talk about partnerships. And we're thankful to everybody, once again, to the moderators, ministerial staff, SOC, everybody. We give all praise and honor to the Most High. Once again, we give all praise and honor to the Most High for my wife, the Honorable Mind, who lives a life that's able to be honored. You can check her out on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish, not A&D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. Are you frozen? Buffering for you too? Okay, hold on 1 second. Can you guys see us where you are on the other platforms? How you doing, Reginald? Can you guys see us on YouTube? Can you guys see us on Facebook? I'm gonna try again on TikTok. You're frozen. You guys are saying you're frozen. Interesting. Can you guys hear me okay now on TikTok? Can you see me all right? Can you see me? Okay, somebody said he's back. Okay, there we go. All right, cool. So I tried to switch to another signal. Yeah, so we're in the midst of trying to deal with this stuff. How you doing, Jay and Tink? So today we want to talk about animalistic behavior, and today we are going to talk about partnerships. partnerships. How you doing, Insomniac? Alrighty, let's get it. Let's get it. So we are going to talk about today partnerships. Partnerships. In animalistic behavior, animals have partnerships, and we as human beings should have partnerships. How you doing, Sister Kimberly? How you doing, Sister Barbara? So we should have what? Partnerships. Partnerships are key. Now, whether those partnerships are because of being confidants, whether it's because we are constituents, whether we are comrades, right? If you don't remember what that is, confidants, you can look up our 3 C's that we put up on YouTube a few times, where you have confidants are for you, right? Some people are for you. They might not always say what you want. They might not always do what you want, but they're always for you, right? And so those are people that even if you have struggles, frustrations, all types of stuff with whatever, they are for you. And so you should honor those partnerships, right? Then some people are constituents. They are for what you are for. So they're not about necessarily what you have to bring to the table, but they're about the fruit that you give. And that's cool, right? So in other words, the confidant is about the tree itself, right? But the confidant is only about your fruit. And look, we should look for your fruit regardless, right? But if you take care of the tree, you take care of the fruit the tree bears. Well, if you take, right, but some people don't really worry about the tree, they just want the fruit. They're not worried about making sure that they conserve any types of trees, right? They're more so concerned about making sure that they conserve the fruit that comes from the tree. And if they can find another tree, or they can find somebody else, or they can find a store, they can find someone who gives out the fruit. If they find somebody who they'll pay to be able to make it where they don't have to come to the tree, then so be it, right? And so we have a lot of people who they are more constituents, right? They're for what you are. They're not for you. They're for what you are for. They'll come over and they'll say things to you all the time. They'll say things that we just assume are nice and things. And they'll say things like, "Oh, every time I talk to you, it makes me feel so great. Every time I come over, you are always cooking. Whenever I'm feeling bad, you're always coming to see about me. This, that." But they don't necessarily return that to you, right? That's a constituent, and they have their place. Right, just know what their place is. Don't put them in an inner circle, and then be upset because they don't give you inner circle behavior. How you doing, Sister Therese? Right? Don't be upset. How you doing, Stephen? Don't be upset. Don't be frustrated when a constituent treats you like a constituent. They're there for a season. They're there, and by the way, all of us have seasons in our life, right? But they can be there for a season and realize they can be somebody who's right there doing this. They're very faithful while they're there, doing all types of stuff to help you out and make sure things are complete and all these things. But they're not necessarily um, they're not necessarily going to be the person that's going to be a blessing to you, this and that, or whatever. They're a constituent. They're not necessarily going to stick around per se, right? They might give you a lot of stuff. You might have fond memories, but they were a constituent. How you doing, Brother Alton? So you have confidence, you have constituents, and then remember there's comrades. Comrades are not for you, and they are not necessarily for what you are for. They are against what you're against. In other words, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? A lot of people have people like that. A lot of people have been in relationships, and then they get out there, and then they're in a relationship, and they find the ex of the person they're in a relationship with, and all of a sudden these two people bond, and the person will end up leaving the person that they're in a relationship with to go to the person that they can bond over negative things that have happened. This person's a bad person. This person's this. This person's that. How you doing, Sister Keita? How you doing, Sister Austria? Right? They were able to come. They were able to bond over something that was negative, right? And then as soon as the enemy of your enemy is no longer your, as long as as long as now that you guys don't have the same enemy per se, because you both have been away from that person, you both have broken that person's heart, or you both have shown that person to be who they are, whatever. Now you bonded, right? So there's only a season now. The season is not necessarily right. The season is not necessarily something that's going to last that long, right? So you can have people that become comrades. They are against what you were against. I used this example before with comrades when everything was happening with Donald Trump first time, right? And he was becoming president. All these people band together. We hate this person, and people who were not in the same constituency, or they were not confidants at all. They came together because they were like, "We hate this guy. We hate this guy." I don't know why you had to have hate for anybody, anyways. You got to be careful with that. How you doing, Sister Judith? But we don't like this person. We hate this guy. We hate this. We hate that. So since we don't like this guy, we all came together, and all of a sudden all these people came together, and I was telling them, be careful, y'all don't really belong together. I can see. I would tell some of my friends, I would tell some of these people that I thought were worthy of knowing. I was like, hey, Be careful. I know it seems like this is going to work out. I know you guys have these partnerships. I know you're making these huge communities, but be careful, because some of these people, they're there just because they don't like somebody that you don't like. Be careful. That doesn't mean they like you. And sure enough, saw people go to prison, saw people be ripped apart. All of a sudden, people are enemies now. People are accusing people of things they didn't even do. But during certain times, y'all were like this. So you thought, because it wasn't that you were confidants for each other. It wasn't that you were constituents. You were for what each other was for. You were comrades. You were against what each other's against. So as Minister Tamara put in the chat, be careful of the covenants that you make. Be careful, right? So today we're going to talk about partnerships, animalistic behavior. Just so this is where they get the enemy of my enemy is my friend. I don't know if that's exactly where, but I use that as an example. So, and how you doing, Natural Sweetness, and everybody who's coming on, appreciate you. If I missed your name, charges in my head, not to my heart. So now that we've dealt with that and we've seen that and we put that up here and we've set a nice foundation, let's get into these partnerships. So a lot of animals have partnerships, and not just only the same species with the same species, not just male with female, but there are a lot of different species of animals that have partnerships. How you doing, Coco? There are a lot of species of animals that hold partnerships, right? There are animals that you would not think would partner with other animals, but out of necessity and also out of want, out of need and out of want. The Most High says that he wants to not only take care of your needs, but he wants to take care of your wants. How you doing, the way she blossom? So out of your needs and your wants, partnerships are developed. So you got to make sure that your needs are in place. How you doing, Pastor Ricky? You got to make sure these partnerships are developed correctly. Right? You got to make sure these partnerships are on point. You have to make sure that these partnerships are based off of your needs and your wants. This is why culture is very important. Right? We come to Yahweh Elohim because what he has for us is extremely important. It takes care of our needs. It takes care of our wants. Right? And how you doing, Sister Nadine? Right? The Most High, he takes care of our needs and our wants. We partner with him. We are not in an independent relationship. We are in an interdependent relationship. How you doing, G? Right? And David McManus, how you doing? See, so you got to recognize your partnerships are developed off of needs and wants. So some animals that you would never think about partnering, they partner all the time in their culture. Remember, we talked about this before. An animal is not in the wild. The word wild or savage, right? Sauvage en français, the word savage literally means that they don't belong in your civilization, right? When you say I'm a savage, you're saying I don't belong in somebody's civilization. Right? How you doing, Keisha Foster? Right? They're saying we don't belong. You don't belong in our civilization. Right? If somebody says you're a savage, so you have to look at what is your civilization. You have to look at what is your culture. What is civilized to you? And in that, you might find some partnerships that you would have never even dreamed of. How you doing, Coco? Right? We got Coco Blast and Coco Shima. Sorry about that. Right? Or Coco Shea, probably. Right? So what are some of these partnerships that develop when you're in your own culture? Right? So when a lion's in the zoo, that's not his culture. He's actually a wild lion. Right? But if you see a lion in the Serengeti, right, with what was it? I forget, Minister Tamara, you told us yesterday. How many? What is it? How many square miles that a lion will have in his lifetime? Some extreme number. I forget what it was. I was on the low end. Was it like 2,000 square miles, something like that? But so if you take the thousands, or maybe even 8,000 square miles, I'm not even sure. It was like 200 to 2,000 or 200 to 8,000, something like that. So if or maybe 20. I can't remember. 20 to 400. See, I'm going way too high. 20 to 400 square miles. I'm about to say 8,000 sounds way too much. So yeah, so 20 to 400 square miles. So if you take a lion and you put him in a zoo, there's no way he can be in his nature. You're seeing a lion physically, right? But its spirit is broken. That's the only way that it can exist. It has to be enslaved to think that it needs to stay behind a cage. Enslaved, mentally enslaved, in order to think that it has to stay behind the cage. It has to believe that you're supposed to feed it so that it doesn't have a hunting instinct take over. Right? But that's why you have to be careful, because even the lion that might have a relationship, some people would even say the lion loves me and I love the lion. Mess around and turn your back at the wrong time on the lion and begin to walk away, you'll see its prey. It starts to think that you're prey because it has something in it that hasn't been developed. So when we talk about partnerships, here's some partnerships that you might not know of that we might be able to learn some things from. Are you aware that the lion partners with the baboon in the wild? Did you guys know that? The lion will partner with the baboon in the wild. Why does the lion partner with the baboon? And why does the baboon, who you would think would be the lion's prey, although the baboon can handle itself? Now, the baboon's got canines like this, you know, like it'll mess around and murder you, kill you, right? How you doing, Brother Terry? Right, and thank you guys for finding us over here on TikTok. We appreciate you. Thank you for your faithfulness. And if it's your first time with us, may it be one time of many. You said the Lion King had some accuracy. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, right. But the lion partners with the baboon. Right. Think about it now. The lion partners with the baboon. Now, this is why the lion would normally hunt the baboon. However, the baboon is also followed by, or is around impalas, is around, the African deer, if you want to, or one version of the African deer. Exactly. Yep. The baboon sees danger coming and lets out shrieks and lets out stuff, and it's very protective over his family. So the impala that are around, or antelope, or different things that might be around, they will ensure that what? They will ensure that they make a noise, right? But here's the problem. We got two partnerships going on and not mutually beneficial. So the baboon makes sure that the impala can be trusted, or the antelopes can be trusted. The antelope are following them because they think they can be trusted and they're coming to them for safety. The lion, though, doesn't really hunt baboons like that. It would hunt more antelope or impala. Doesn't really even go after the impala like that because the impala is actually pretty difficult to get, to springbok, things like that. But it hunts these deer. So the baboon and the lions actually get a partnership because the baboon goes, well, if I let the lion eat the deer, it won't eat me. So the baboons will on purpose see the lions. The lions will see the baboon. The baboon will say, okay, we're not going to sound the alarm. The lion goes, cool, I really don't want you anyways. I'd rather have the deer. And so now the lion goes and gets the deer. The deer still, though, need a warning. So because of the situation they're in, they'll have this partnership that's not the best thing for them, but they'll keep going back, knowing that there could be a possibility, but hey, the baboon more often than not will let out some kind of warning sign. We have the baboon in two different partnerships. One, it uses to save itself. One, it uses to have friendship, but also only have friendship to the point to where it can save itself. And both partnerships is really set up to save itself. And some of us are dealing with baboon behavior. I know this sounds odd, but it's a different culture. It's a different continent we're on right now. So these are not things that we would normally think about as far as what to learn from. But yeah, see, self-preservation, because a lot of people are not trying to thrive, they're trying to survive. Mm-hmm. Y'all catch that? What's the point of the story? I think that the point of the story is being made right now. If it's something that's not for you, then feel free to go to another channel, and thank you for being on so much. If that's your way of saying hello, how are you doing? Right? Shalom. Barakala cham yachava, habarigani, jambo, mimini kofi nina fraku kitana nueve, right? Akwa etese, have an excellent day, right? But if your work is to troll, then you came to the wrong place, right? It's not going to get any reaction out of me other than just to tell you that I appreciate your heart. And when you depreciate, you appreciate us. So I thank you for being on, even if your goal is to tell me that I'm pointless. I know that my life is not pointless, and neither is yours. Praise God for you. So these are the things that we have to recognize and realize that are going on. You said it's a question. Okay, Sister Tracy. The person, right? Because the person came on earlier, and then when I was talking, they said LOL. Then they said this is pointless, and then they said, well, what's the point of it? If it was a question, an innocent question, you see it as such, hey, you know what? Charge it to my head, not to my heart. I could just be wrong, but I feel like it wasn't just a question. But nevertheless, right? What's the point of the story? The point of the story is what I was saying as far as relationships. The point of the story is that we need to ensure that relationships are correct, right? The point of the story is that we need to be careful of the partnerships, because a lot of people have partnerships about self-preservation, right? A lot of people are not, as I was talking, the person literally was missing the point. I literally said, a lot of people are here to survive and not to thrive. That also means that a lot of people are here to survive off of you and not to help you thrive. So if you get into certain partnerships, you must recognize that there are some people who have baboon-like behavior. They'll let you in. They will not hurt you. They will not harm you. They'll allow your family to be around and everything. But when there's a family, or when there's a king, or when there's a queen, or when there's a president, or when there's a governor, right? That's getting ready to come and do something that they say is better. When there's somebody who will preach better, when there's somebody who will teach better, when there's somebody who will, say that we have more than you do or whatever, when there's somebody who, like, you are committed to for whatever reason, there's always a reason why somebody who's trying to survive is not worried about taking care of you. Right? How you doing, brother TJ? Just because somebody purchases something for you doesn't mean that they're your friend. Not all skin folk is kinfolk. Just because somebody puts a fist up and says black power. Yes, and I know black can mean many different things, right? Including, I know that black initially didn't have anything to do with us, at least the word black, the way it's used. Negro and negro and stuff like that, actually is something that we taught people, but nevertheless, right? I get the Moorish argument, but hopefully you get the context, right? How you doing, Sister Deborah? How you doing, Money Green? Spike me too. Everybody coming on, excellent. Thank y'all for finding us. I know they're making it difficult. So many are called, few are chosen. Yeah, people are trying to be distractions, right? Am I a clergy person? I guess you would call me that. Yes, I don't go to churches per se. I'm not a Christian, but yeah, I would fit that type of criteria, I guess. I love us, but everyone with locks ain't righteous. That's true, right? Everybody with some people on locks will have you on lockdown. But anyways, I'm not gonna go. We could go all the way there if we wanted, But these are things that we have to recognize, right? We have to realize that we have some partnerships with people that are trying to survive off you and not to thrive with you. I mean, you can ask a question, sure, right? I'll probably still have to bring it back to animalistic behavior, but what you said? You said are you talking about relationships? Yeah. Yeah, this is a whole series that we've been doing for a while. It's actually recorded on YouTube. But right now, yeah, we're focusing in on relationships. So we have to be aware of these things. We have to be ready for these things. We have to be aware that there are a lot of people who are not there once again to help you, right? And even there's some things about relationships that you might want to be careful about, or things you're seeking that cause you to get into relationships that you might feel trapped in. Here's something else with the baboon, right? Now, this is the baboon and human beings, although the baboon didn't sign up for the relationship with human beings, but this is a relationship, right? You said, well, that's why I asked the point of the story, but then you just muted you. Well, I didn't mute you, number one. One of the moderators did. Number two, if your whole thing is to say LOL, to say what we're saying is pointless, and then be like, well, what's the point? So, but either way, if I made a mistake, right? Sister Tracy came on here and told me I made a mistake. If I made a mistake, I'm a human being. Okay. I ask for forgiveness if you are willing to give such things. And I forgive myself of my bad behavior, and I ask Yahweh for forgiveness. So now that we've got that, you literally didn't say that? Okay. I totally, I mean, I know 2 out of 3 things for 100% sure. I literally quoted you, so I could be wrong. But once again, it seems like you want to be right. I don't care about being right. I want to be righteous. So you win. If you're cool with being on, be on. If you're not, hey, it is what it is, right? I appreciate you regardless. I appreciate your heart, right? That lion spirit. So, and I mean LION, right? So here's the deal. We're dealing with this stuff, right? And going back to the baboon, which once again, point of the story. Now, if you allow me to get to it, I can actually get to it, right? So the point of the story, even further, because we have more examples, right? So if we're going to get to some relationships or some things you're looking for, be careful. Remember, we said relationships come out of needs and wants, How you doing, Gus Sissy? Thanks for being on. How you doing, MIT Tamar? How you doing? Hopefully I'll be able to reach out to you today. Apologize for not texting you back. Just realized I didn't text you back. So you said told the Shabbat day changed. Is that true? Yeah, Shabbat changes depending on the position of the moon. Matter of fact, we could answer that real quick, and then I got to get back to this. um, but let's see. We can answer that real quick. We can just pull up the calendar. We can take a look. All right. Well, once we pull up the calendar, then we'll leave it there. So today is the 14th, right? Yeah, tomorrow will be the 15th. So this is April. So right now, Shabbat is still on Wednesday, right? According to our calendar, the new moon is going to be, if you look on there, it's going to be not this Saturday, but next Saturday. So when that happens, then our Shabbat is going to change to Friday. Now, if you're talking about the Shabbat change as far as the Roman Catholic Church, yeah, they used to even do their masses and everything on, or their main mass, if you will, on Saturday, and then they switched everything to Sunday, especially when they changed the position of what they believed the global positioning was and all that stuff. But yeah, so just in essence and period, in the Hebrew calendar, Shabbat changes all the time according to the position of the moon. All righty. Okay, so let's go ahead and get back into this real quick. Uh-oh. Comments just disappeared. Hey, how you doing, babe? My wife is on, the Honorable Maya. As always, you can check her out on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish, not A&D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She's a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. So what's Shabbat? So Shabbat, if you're going by the land of your captivity, it's Saturdays, because that's the seventh day of your week. If you're going by the Hebrew calendar, right now, Shabbat is on Wednesday. And like we said, next Saturday will be the beginning of the next new moon. So the next new moon, Saturday, that will be the beginning of the next month. When that beginning next month starts, that's Raishan Shalom for us, the beginning of the week and the beginning of the month. And after that, on Friday, right, 7 days later, the seventh day after that. So now on Friday, so that'll be once April 22nd hits, right, that'll be the next month. So then come April 28th, that'll be our first Shabbat of the new month. Of the second, it'll be our second month. We're in the first month of the new year because our first month started on March 23rd, which was Nisan. So we're in the month of Nisan now. Okay. All righty. So, so getting back to animalistic behavior. Amen. Bavakasha, it's our pleasure. You said the Supreme Court presented with Sabbath changes for work purposes. Okay. Pops in quickly. So when we're talking about animalistic behavior, once again, a lot of relationships comes out of needs and wants. And here's the thing about relationships. Ultimately, relationships will cause death or they'll cause life. Ultimately, relationships will cause death or they shall cause life. What did we just say? Ultimately, relationships shall cause death or they shall cause life. Right? And so baboon needs water, it also needs salt, right? Animals need minerals just like you and I do, right? So baboons, they look for salt. Now we think that salt, we always think about salt making you thirsty, but salt actually helps you. See, salt water is a different type of stuff because when you're drinking salt water, you're actually drinking salt water mixed with a bunch of other things as well, right? So it's a different type of concoction, if you will. But salt actually will help you to be able to retain water. Like if you go get a gallon of water, you probably want to put a pinch of salt in the bottom, as well as maybe put some lemon and lime and stuff if you're having issues with being able to make sure that you're hydrated. And if you need some electrolytes basically mean food. It means medicine. It means natural food, right? So if you put lemon, lime, stuff like that in your water, you will be able to get electrolytes. That's the ultimate Gatorade, if you will, Powerade, all that stuff. And by the way, Gatorade you should not mess with because it's got pork and other stuff in it anyways that we shouldn't have, besides food coloring, etc. Right? And food coloring, depending on even what type of food coloring, can even stop you from having children, or at least lessen what it is, right? Yeah, when you fast, you put salt in your water. That's a great. I've never done it. I never even thought about that, but that's actually something that we should tell people a lot more of, right? Matthew 5:13, you are the salt of the earth. Amen. So the baboon needs salt. So the baboon looks for salt all the time. So what is it that human beings would do, knowing the need of a baboon? The hunters of baboons, right? They need the baboon because they want to eat it, they want to enslave it, they want to put it in a zoo, they want to trade its body parts for certain things. They might want to grind it for aphrodisiacs, all types of stuff, right? Right. So the baboon will, what they do is they set up a trap. You got to be careful with some of these relationships now. Some of these relationships are traps. Be careful what you get entrapped into. Some of these relationships are nothing more than entrapment. Be careful what happens with these relationships. Some of y'all are in relationships and trying to figure out why you feel trapped. Some of you are in relationships with your job and trying to say, why do I feel trapped? Some of you are in relationships with your schools, and here you are 20, 30, 40, 50 years later, and you still owe payments to your college. Right? Be careful. Something that you need can be used against you to get you in a relationship that you don't need to be. Some of you pay taxes because you were told that your straw man is real. Right? Some of you have bad relationship with yourself because your flesh needed to be fed and you were tricked by your own flesh. It's necessary for you to reproduce, but if you're not careful, your flesh can trap you into pornography. See, relationships are deeper. There's some spiritual relationships that you have that are not necessary, that are not shouldn't have even been gotten into. And we're so busy trying to identify with stuff that makes us feel needed or this and that. Matter of fact, the reason why you go to the fast food restaurant the way you do. Why do you go to the fast food restaurant? They always give you salt, they always give you sugar, they always give you fat. You don't believe it, you're gonna get fries, salt, you're gonna get a drink, sugar, you're gonna get that meat, if it is meat, sometimes fat. And they give that to you because they know that you need love. People who eat those things at a regular basis and consume it all the time is because you don't feel loved, you don't feel adequate, you don't feel like you're getting what you want, right? If somebody's dealing with stuff, what do you get? You get animal blood or animal fat that's been purified, right? You get milk. Milk is fat, right? Milk fattens babies up. And you get cow's milk. Cow's milk is designed to take a 400 and something pound calf and make it into a ton, at least a beast that can be a ton, right? It's the milk is fat, so there's a love, there's a comfort that comes with it. So why is it that when people don't feel love, they go and they get that ice cream? That's fat. You don't feel loved. Said internal clock almost got you trapped, almost went crazy. There you go, right? You gotta be careful. You can feel trapped by some of this stuff. You will be trapped by some of these things. Be careful. Be careful out here. How you doing, Iska? Thanks for coming on over. See, yep, comfort food. See, you're seeking comfort, so somebody gives you comfort, but it's not comfort in a way that's going to bless you. It's comfort in a way that's going to hurt you, that's going to manipulate you, that's going to manipulate your body, that's going to manipulate your bodily functions. And so now you have a relationship with something, you have a relationship with someone, you have a relationship with a corporation. A corporation by law is considered to be a person. So here you are with the corporation of McDonald's. You're trapped. You know what the number one is? I haven't even been to McDonald's for a long, long time, but I'm pretty sure the number one is probably still the Big Mac. Why? Because I had enough relationship long enough, right? There are times I ate 20-piece nugget meals and really shouldn't have finished the 20-piece. But because I go to McDonald's enough, I sow and I invest in it enough, and they invested, even if it's poison, they've invested in me enough. So I think I've ate the 20-piece so many times in my life. When I was in high school, that 20-piece, especially when I had a little extra change for every once in a while, the 20-piece, that was a status symbol. I know some of y'all don't think about that. Maybe you never went through something where you got stuff that was bad for you, but you just wanted to cut. You thought that even a 20-piece nugget was a flex. But hey, for me, where I was at the time, a 20-piece nugget might have been a flex. So in high school, you go there, everybody getting the 6-piece and getting this. And because also because I'm tall too and big, I'm 6'5.5". So I could eat something that they can't eat. But I got it. I thought I was flexing. I thought I was doing something cool. I thought I was doing something that was there, and it was killing me. Right. And now my adult self deals with some of the consequences that my teenage self was doing. Here I am 20 plus years later, still having relationship to where I can go ahead and quote you a menu. Even if I don't know what the numbers are, I'm pretty sure they probably got a double cheeseburger on there still. They might not have a dollar menu, but they probably got the value menu. On the value menu, you probably got a small fry, right? I know they probably got desserts. They probably got cookies. I don't know if they still have them or not, but they probably have some version of the apple pie. You might not be able to get 2 apple pies for $1 anymore, but you could probably still get 2 apple pies. You know, like there's a relationship. These are relationships. Be careful what you enter into. Said be grateful to be free from fast food. Yeah, be careful what relationships you get into. You said you had Domino's in your school. It was a big thing. If you could buy pizza after school, yeah, and people would go there. Like we would go right across the street, but there was a McDonald's. And then it didn't matter. And and watch this, all class went away. They served it. See, we didn't want classism, and classism was in school, and it was racism in school, and you had rich children in school, and you had poor children in school, right? In my high school, there was a mix of a lot of different people from a lot of different places. They didn't even want a lot of us that were coming to that school to come. But guess what we could all do? We could all go to McDonald's afterwards. Now, I can go to McDonald's every day, right? But we could. And then if I got accepted by the children who could afford McDonald's every day, then I could go to McDonald's every day. And we would skip school to go to McDonald's, which was a wild thing. We would literally skip school, go across the street or whatever, try to figure out a way to come back and hopefully not be seen. Go all the way off campus, go all the way around through some neighborhoods that we didn't even belong in, right? They didn't even like us there. We then crossed the street to be able to get it. All of that just for a status symbol. It was a relationship. The relationship drove us to do some things that were wild, that were crazy. These fast food Target and focus on the children as well. Yeah, they got a relationship. The Happy Meal. Most children got their first fast food stuff off of some kind of Happy Meal or something, or whatever value meal, or whatever children's meal or kids meal or whatever they call them at these places. They got it there, and they got it out of your relationship. And part of and what was there? What did they give the children? Give them a toy. Give them a coloring book. Give them a DVD that only has like 1 minute of information on it. Give them whatever, right? Give them a Roblox membership, right? Give them anything and they sow into your children. They're willing to invest because they're invested in relationship. Now, whether we want to talk about the relationship is great or not, they know they're investing in relationship. You said your daughter was asking for McDonald's and she never had it at that point. Yeah, they're investing in relationship. They're looking for a relationship. How you doing, Sister Miko? They're looking for a relationship, right? You are not an American because you knew you were an American when you were born. You're an American because they invested in your relationship. You don't think you have to go to the doctor because the doctor is going to cure you. You go to somebody who practices on you because of what? Relationship. The programming is real. They program relationship. Getting back to the baboon has salt, like salt, right? So what do human beings do? They set up traps with salt, and they'll set up a trap. Forgive me, I know this is not really, but they'll set up a trap, right? Like, and they'll put salt inside, and the baboon, but they make sure that the hole is just big enough for the baboon to to squeeze their hand through, right? So the baboon sees the salt. The baboon knows it needs salt, it needs minerals, and also it needs something to help it with hydration, especially if it's out in the sun all day. It doesn't have access to water like that all the time. So whenever it gets water, it's got salt for minerals. It also has salt to help with hydration. So the baboon will reach and squeeze its hand inside, right? The baboon will reach and squeeze its hand inside. And as it squeezes its hand inside, the hole is just big enough for the baboon's hand to be able to be in there. But what happens after the baboon squeezes his hand in? It gets what happens when what do you think happens when, right? We're gonna do a little science lesson real quick. What do you think happens when the baboon puts his hand inside? It gets stuck, but why does it get stuck? How you doing, Sister Knight? Why does it get stuck when it puts his hand inside? The very thing it's looking for does something. What is the effect of salt on the baboon's hand? TikTok's not down. Well, they took down our ability to go live on Kofi_43. So we're on TikTok on Kofi_42, just not Kofi_43. Exactly. Its hand swells. It enlarges. And so now, because his hand is enlarged and needed the salt, what it needed has actually swollen it up, has had a bad effect on it. And so now the baboon can't get its hand out. As soon as the baboon's hand cannot come out, now it has a relationship with something that causes death. Now here comes a human being. Now here comes the hunter. Now here comes the person. Once again, these relationships that we're talking about, these relationships, they are based off of needs and wants. Be careful. Somebody can offer what you need, but if it's offered in something that causes you, but see, if it's offered in a certain way, it could kill you or it could lead to your death, right? It could lead to your death. They use greed sometimes. Hey, how you doing, Insomnia? How you doing, Sister Rhea? Right? It can lead to greed at times. And by the way, when they mess with us and do stuff like that, that's why we put out hashtag find Kofi. You can always look up hashtag find Kofi. I think Kofi underscore 42 is like a weird thing they did with my name for Kofi underscore 44. So that's us as well. I need to start posting. I haven't posted on there in forever. Who knows the last time I posted on there. But yeah, Kofi underscore 44 is something we're trying to build up and at least get it to 1,000 so that if we ever have to switch over to there, we can use that as well. Right? You said meeting the need should contradict or compromise the standard. Yeah, shouldn't. Yeah, it shouldn't. Yeah, exactly, right. But a lot of people, you got to recognize some people out here, they know your needs. See, the devil has studied your needs. Yeah, people will use the illusion of love. You need love. Hey, people can play love really well. That's why you got to learn culture. In our culture, love has a standard. I got with this person, they weren't really what I thought they were. Well, in our culture, your whole family's supposed to vet this person. We're supposed to talk to their family, and we're supposed to all live by the same culture and standards. And we would have grown up and we would have known each other. And even if we didn't grow up with each other, we should know enough about the standard and have enough relationship with each other to where we can talk to people and be like, hey, who is this person? Right. But when you date, that's something somebody uses to say, hey, put your hand in there. And before you know it, let me put the tip in. Trap. That's a trap. If you're not careful, hey, somebody offers you, nobody was telling you were pretty. Nobody was telling you this and that or whatever, right? Father wasn't in your life saying, hey, baby girl, sit on my lap. You don't have to go on no dates with nobody. Come with me. We can go to the mall. We can do this. You know how beautiful you are, this and that or whatever. You didn't get that. Now all of a sudden, you're looking for somebody to tell you how beautiful you are. They didn't care about you. They knew that if they said those words, trap. Hey, how you doing, Sister Mary? Glad you're feeling better. It's a trap. A lot of guys. We only talk about the men preying on the women. There's a lot of sisters that prey on the brothers. Hey, handsome. Everybody around me my whole life done told me I'm ugly. Hey, handsome. Find out you got a little something in your pocket. Next thing you know. Right? I was in the military, right? Didn't fall for the trap, but I'm telling you, the trap is real. Two things I can tell you all about. Walking down the street, off base, don't have any vehicle. I'm just walking down the street, probably about a half a mile off the base, trying to look at the Norfolk area for the first time, as far as just on my own, not going because of a military thing or anything like that, just walking down the street. Lady had to be 50, 55 years old, stops on the side of the street and is like, hey, you trying to go to a hotel? You trying to do blah, blah? Right? Now, I'm a teenager. I joined the military when I was 17, got to my first duty station when I was 18. Right? Finished my school and got to my first duty station by the time I was 18 after boot camp. I'm sitting there like, who you even talking to? Because nobody talks to me like that. I've never had anybody, just roll up on me. Hey, what's up with you? You trying to go to a hotel, this, that, or whatever? And I'm into my pornography phase. Right? It's a trap. I'm like, no, I'm all right. And then I won't say the stuff that she said, but she said something pretty crazy after that. And it was actually, I praise y'all for my mother's raising me and my father's raising me. It actually came off as disgusting. It was disgusting, but some people take it as a compliment. I won't say what the person said is pretty vile. And then after that, I was like, no, thank you. Right? Another one in the military base. This time, I'm probably about 19. I'm at like 19 at this point. So just a year later, and I'm on duty, gate guard duty, and I go a lot of different places and this ends up being the unit that I end up going overseas with and stuff like that as well. But I'm on gate guard duty, and they have other people that help us to make sure that our numbers are up to par, but we don't give them weapons, right? So these are people that they don't know where they're going yet. They need to do something. They kind of work for us. And there's somebody on there. I'm 6'5.5". This girl is like 6'1", 6'2", right? Come to find out through somebody else, how the whole high school vibe works. You know, we in the military, but it's the high school vibe. Hey, you know, so and so likes you, this and that. Go talk to whatever, and somehow, some way, I end up going for the okie doke. Now, in my mind, I've been raised look for a wife, so I'm not going looking for anything or whatever. But I'm invited to her house. I come over. I take a cab over there. I come, not her house, her apartment. She has a child, so I'm thinking she just got a newborn baby, this and that or whatever. You know, maybe she wants a man in her life, this and that. Let's see if she's a wife. Go over there, and literally, I go over there, and literally, she's like, I'm like, oh, okay, well, what you think about relationships? And I like to be married, and I'm talking about marriage, relationship, needs, values of my culture, right? And out of that, she's like, oh no, I'm not here for. She's like, no, I don't really want a relationship, this and that, and I'm like confused. So she got the baby, whatever. I'm being respectful. Baby needs to put to sleep, but I kind of get quiet after that. I'm an introvert, anyways. But I just get quiet. I sit there. We just go kind of quiet. And before the baby doesn't fall asleep, I praise y'all, because who knows? But baby doesn't fall asleep. I'm just sitting there. My training is kicking in. What my mother's words are. My mother used to tell me all the time. From 6 years old, she used to say, "Hey, how you doing, Trauma Shaman?" At 6 years old, my mother used to say stuff like, "Don't bring no girl into my house unless she's a wife." I didn't even know what that meant at 6. I still didn't know what it meant when I initially got married, for real, for real. But I had these words, so I'm like, and I'm starting to get scared. It's weird. You got cognitive dissonance. Part of your flesh wants something, but your spirit is like, this ain't gonna work out, right? So I roll out, call a cab. Everybody makes fun of me the next day, but I was able to make sure I didn't fall into a partnership. Would have been dangerous. Why would you want? You just had a child. Why would you want to bring somebody into your house with your child and not want them to? Why would you even want a spirit to be there? Why would you want these soul ties? But see, she was from a different culture, or at least a different culture was representing what she was. Be careful about these partnerships. Aman, Aman, my mother's tzedakah, or the mother's law, yeah, or her guide for sure. How you doing, Carol? How you doing, Beat Bros? See, I'm just saying, these relationships, they get you caught up. They get you hemmed up. I'm so glad. How you doing, Goose? I'm so glad. How you doing, Emmanuel? I'm so glad that my mother had a great relationship with her son. I'm so glad that my mother said, the way I'm a wife to your father, you need to find somebody like that for you. Until this day, there has never been a sister, there's never been anybody, any girl, even on prom night, came close to it, but never did. I've never, out of respect for my mother, and my mother has been going for over 20 years now, I have never brought any woman to my house that was not my wife, because my mother taught me that relationship. Right? My wife is worthy of coming to my father's house because that's my mother's house. My father, praise y'all for his relationship with me. My father was married to one woman and has never gone on a date since that woman died. However you feel about that, if you feel that's how it has to happen, this or that, whatever, I'm just telling you that's my example. That's my ensample. That's the sample that I had. That's the relationship I had. My father's still faithful to his wife. Could be a lost soul trying to trap you, right? And a lot of us go through these things. You'd be surprised how many traps are out there. This is why you got to be focused on your culture. If you focus on your culture, you already know where to get salt from. Why are you worried about getting salt from something that's not even necessarily natural? It doesn't make sense that there just be a box. Like, you ain't used to seeing no box out there, baboon. You ain't used to seeing a box out there where you would go ahead and stick your hand inside. Is it Shay? I don't know if I'm saying this right. Shay Stastency. I don't even think I said that correctly, but thank you for being on. Right? Like there's some things that just don't add up. There's some things that you shouldn't. But watch this. If you put your hand in there, you notice it doesn't add up. All you gotta do is put your hand in, and it swells up, and now you can't get out. Now the only way you can get out is hope and pray that some kind of mercy kicks in to allow you to be able to live to see another day. He said so many people try to create relationship with people that they should be exposing to the Most High. Yeah, or just not like let the Most High expose what it is. I like that, right? You said when exactly is the right time to introduce parents after marriage or just before? Well, in our culture, the parents would be the ones um, so in our culture, you don't date. So for me, it's a, I don't know if I can give advice on that. The way that maybe someone would ask, because in our culture, we don't date. So we're trained from birth, from when we're born, to be husband and wife. So he who finds a wife, every husband before he has a wife should have a work. So if I'm in my work, I see the necessity of a wife through the prism of my work. I've already been trained on what a wife is. I've already been trained as a husband. Once I'm in my work and I see my wife while I'm in my work, then I have a conversation with her. I basically submit my resume. If she likes what she sees and she thinks she has time to think about it, pray about it, she has the power at that point. She could say yes, she can say no, because she's not going to be in submission. She's going to be in submission. So she's checking out my mission to see if the mission values are there, right? Right. So let's say, so after that, basically, if you had this conversation with a wife, she's already a wife, she's just not your wife. She has to be qualified as a wife already. She has to do certain things, right? So if you find out she's a wife and you find her and you present your resume, then from there, you have your discussions or whatever. If everything works out, then your parents or spiritual guides or whatever, right, and community would also show up to verify this. You would then bring everybody together. There would be a knocking ceremony where the father of the groom would knock on the door, and the father of the bride would open, and the father of the groom would pour out some tea or some wine or something like that. And then, if accepted by the father of the bride, then they have conversation. What's going to happen, this and that, or whatever, even the dowry, because we have this thing where the all the money and everything that's going to be spent is by the father of the bride, and the reality is that the actual dowry, like the bride, is valuable. So if you're going to marry her, to show that you already have a situation she can come into, and to make sure that the family who's losing a family member, right, being married into another family, so I'm not saying they can't see each other, but they're being married to another family, you give something for what's about to be taken from one family to another, because you're taking value. So that's why you have a situation where somebody works 7 years, 14 years, a dowry is paid in some way, shape, or form to earn the right to be able to take this beautiful woman of Yah, this beautiful wife of Yah, and have her stop being a spiritual wife to the father and a physical uh, daughter to the father, and allow her to become a spiritual, a spiritual daughter to this spiritual father, and a physical wife to this physical husband. Right? That's why, even, for example, when Yahushua, when he died for us on the cross, on the Tav, he's just very eager to meet his mother. Yeah, I get you. And so watch this. When Yahushua, when he died for us on the cross, he paid a dowry for you. You are his bride, right? You are his bride. So when he pays a dowry. He paid his blood. No greater man, or no greater love has a man than this, that he would die for his friend. He died for his wife. That was a dowry. That's why the Bible says stuff like you were bought with a price. We think, oh, they talk about slavery. They're talking about marriage. In our culture, you were bought with a price. Sister, you don't just come with nothing, right? You were valuable. There should be something that he's willing to give up to the point of death. That's how valuable you are. And he doesn't stop paying for you the day that you get married. He pays for you for the rest of his life. He pays security. He pays with affection. He pays with sweet nothings in your ear. He pays by making sure your children are protected. He pays by making sure that he sows word into you. He pays by making sure he sows encouragement. This is a cultural aspect, and many people don't do that, right? So for us, getting back to your question, for us, as far as relationships, we would make sure that we get into a place to where um, like we would meet before the dating started. So right, or really there's no dating, so we would just meet before all that. Like once all that stuff was agreed upon with you, then the father and both parents and the children are going to all meet together, and there's going to be community that comes out, and they're going to even sign affidavits that if there's an agreement, everybody's going to say, hey, we all saw this. And so we do the Eurocentric thing where we sign a certificate after we walk down the aisle, right? For us in our culture, everybody signs certificates to say that now she's going to prepare herself for her husband, and he's going to prepare a place for her. So if you've been going out for a while and everything, I can't really talk about when, as far as dating or how many years you should be together, because that's not something I can speak to. However, what I would say is, if to give a little bit of an answer at least, and not leave you hanging, because I don't want to do that. So what I would say is, I would at least look at trying to see if y'all can meet each other as soon as possible. Make sure your parents can meet each other as soon as possible, and make sure everybody's all in. I would say at least that. I don't know if it doesn't necessarily answer the question fully. Like I said, I knew I wouldn't be able to, but prayerfully it gives a little bit of direction. I don't know if it does, but thank you for the question, Iska. Hopefully I answered it somewhat. How you doing, warrior for the Most High? So yeah, there's a lot of things that we have to realize and recognize that we are not in line with culturally, and even in some of these relationships. You said, what is culture? What is your culture belief? Are they the same? Well, culture informs your beliefs. What you believe is because it's in your culture, right? You believe, for example, if you believe you're an American citizen, it's because you've been in the culture of American citizens. Right? If you believe that you are in a democracy, it's because you live in a culture where they don't write democracy in your constitution, but they tell you you're in a democracy when really you're in a republic. Right? Your belief is based off of the culture you're in. Right? Your culture informs your beliefs. Right? So your belief, some people would even throw faith in there with belief. You know, we have sometimes faith and belief are one and the same, sometimes they're not. But what I believe is based off of what I do. Right? If you do something enough, you begin to believe in it. Why do you believe that your mother will always be there for you? Well, because you come from a culture where your mother was always there for you. So you believe in what you saw. Right? So culture is informing your beliefs. And then when you get an emotional tie to it, you're actually emotionally tied to the belief, not the culture. The culture informs your belief, but your belief informs your emotions. So when somebody gets angry or frustrated or happy, or they start running, or they cry or things like that, those things happen because you're dealing with a belief thing. If you watch a movie, right, you have certain beliefs. Matter of fact, the movie itself has to give you a culture, right? Amen, Minister Nice. You were bought with a price. And how you doing? Right? So my culture informs my belief. Right? That's the way it works. My culture informs my belief. So whatever my culture is, that's what I'm going to believe in. Whatever my culture is, that's what I'm going to believe in. Right? George Washington's the first president. Whatever your culture is, that's what you believe in. He's not. He even told y'all he's not. He's quoted as telling you that he's not. But whatever your culture is, that's what your belief is. Oh, America is just a country just because. No, America had to be allowed to be a country because sovereignty has to be given by another sovereign. So Morocco allowed America to be a country. George Washington said that too. He thanked the Moroccan Sultan. Right? America is a Christian nation. Well, you live in a culture of Christianity, and Christianity mixes and matches a bunch of stuff all the time. So if you live in the culture of Christianity, you'll believe America is a Christian nation. No, it's not. Look at the Treaty of Tripoli, an American document, right? From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, right? Marine Corps, right? Semper Fi. Y'all sung that before. Have you been in? And in the Marine Corps, when you sing that, look at the Treaty of Tripoli. The 11th part of it tells you that America is not, nor has it ever been, a Christian nation. Matter of fact, it says that they have a great regard for the Muslim faith. Why do they have great regard for the Muslim faith? They have great regard for the Muslim faith because the Muslim faith was what allowed them, a Muslim sultan who told them, rewrite your constitution, so I'll sign off on it. because they had another constitution. Oh, thank you, Shabbos. I appreciate you. Right? You hear what I'm saying? So this is what these people are doing. You have to recognize what's there. So if you're from a culture that tells you lies, then you'll believe lies. If you're from a culture that says, "Hey, everybody needs to go to school because education is key. Everybody should go to school." They took school away from everybody. This is why people didn't get great. Nobody went to school until like the last 200-300 years. Everybody was homeschooled. If you went to university, sure, were there universities in a sense? Yeah, but they weren't a normal thing. It wasn't a normalcy. And you had to be of a certain class usually to go to a university, unless you were in a place like Timbuktu or something. How you doing, Rissa? Yeah, we believe in marriage contracts because you believe that you should give your marriage to the state. So you sign a marriage contract with the state, but you can have a marriage contract that's just private. Anything can be written as a contract. Learning something new, cool. You said, what if you're just chronically online? Does one's culture dominate the internet? Well, that's a great question, actually. That's an excellent question. I would say that a lot of people get so much stuff from so many different places that they don't necessarily have direction. So I think it actually affects you in that regard. But once again, if you know how to use the internet should be a tool, right? TikTok shouldn't be the thing that like informs everything. It should be a tool that you use to get your information, right? So, if you're dealing with culture and stuff, um, you know, you can inform yourself. You can decide what comes up on your news feed, on your YouTube scroll, whatever they call that, on your on the algorithm and things. You can control the algorithm if you feel like. Matter of fact, I won't say this is 100% accurate, but for the most part, nothing's really coming on your outside of commercials. If you get to a certain place and you know how to use it right, the only thing you're going to see on your feeds is either stuff that somebody else has sent you or stuff that you're looking for. So if you see stuff that you hate, it's because you like it, or you do enough stuff close enough to it that they say, let's introduce you to this and see how you like it, because you do something that's close enough where they say, hey, we're just going to give you what you like. But once again, be careful, because what you like for a season, put your hand in there, your hand swells. Going back to when I was saying this is what the point of this is, right? Is that hand swells, you try to pull it out, you might not be able to come out of it. That's why we get in the rabbit hole. Some people spend 3-4 months in the rabbit hole and they're like, this is not even feeding me. But why am I watching it? Well, it's feeding your flesh. It's feeding it's feeding the desire that you have, but it might be a perverted desire. You might want to leave that alone. You said, yes, you can, but some of the internet's just open source. TikTok is a particular example. Okay. I just know for a fact, like from time to time might something come up, but I don't, you know, something like when people say, oh man, this is so disgusting. They're putting people's breasts out and stuff like that. And people are naked on TikTok and children are out here twerking and stuff. You know what? Like that don't really show up on my feed. Now I'm not on TikTok for real like that, except for when I do lives. So I don't really see stuff anyways. But I'm just saying, like, the algorithm is looking for something. Is the algorithm always honest? Does the algorithm sometimes block some of the stuff that you want to see? Yeah, of course. But we're not gonna act like the algorithm. See, once again, the algorithm's dealing with relationships. They're trying to get you in. They're trying to say, hey, what is it that you want? They don't care if it gets a bunch of views. They don't care if everything they give you only gets like 40 views max. If that's what you're into, they'll give you what you're into. If you're somebody that's out here just looking at things, watch this. There's a lot of people, right? And then we have a lot of people in community. So when I do look at some of our stuff, there's a lot of us where I see that people do the whole thing where it's duet stuff and somebody's singing on one end and somebody's singing on the other, or somebody's looking at somebody being sexy on one end and the other person, the other end's acting like a dog or something like that, or a wolf hounding, or a girl who's fanning herself and stuff like that. Like if right, like, so if you're doing stuff like that, then it's only a matter of time before something like that's going to pop up. But I'm gonna just be honest. Like, I'm not saying that the TikTok is just giving you only what you want, right? They get paid by people to give you some of the stuff that you don't want, or some of the stuff that's gonna feed your flesh or feed your desires that might even be perverted desires, but not feed the things that you need to help you to be your best self. But at the same time, the algorithm is also gonna be hitting a lot on what is it that this person seemed to be scrolling on. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, Taj, is it Taj? I hope I'm saying it. Taj. Taj Mahal. Okay, Taj Mahal Williams. I apologize. I'm not really coming at you per se. I get caught up on words. I like etymology. If somebody says one thing or some one thing, I can get caught up on it for a minute. But I just try, so I'm expanded upon the point. I can see how it comes off that I'm coming at you though. So I forgive me if it's coming off like that, right? But but yeah, like this is you know, there's a lot of stuff that's in there, but they're feeding off relationships. They're feeding off our relationships. Yeah, it deals with familiarity. They're feeding off our relationships. And thank you once again, everybody who's on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. Thank you for your likes, shares, all that stuff. If you're on YouTube, if you want to subscribe and even hit the notification tab so you can make sure that you join us, whenever we're coming on, you can be notified when we're coming on. We appreciate your time today. We know you guys could have been anywhere else. And matter of fact, some of you are trying to find us from our normal place we be on live, Kofi_43. So the fact that some of you guys have came and found us over here, we appreciate you so very much. Hopefully TikTok will correct their mistake and we'll be back on sometime tomorrow on Kofi_43. If not, you can find us here until next week. How you doing, Elizabeth? Right. So it's relationships. These relationships are key. Relationships are key. And once again, you got to be careful because relationships are built off of what? Somebody help me. What did we say relationships are built off of? You said you got off Facebook for a while because porn sites start popping up and you don't know how to deal with or click anything close to that at all. Yeah, and sometimes that can be from other stuff too, right? And there are people that take over different things. There's people who, find different ways or salacious ways of doing things, right? But even with that, that block button, block enough of them, or whatever, report enough of them, you'll see that some of that stuff starts to go away too. I'm not saying you didn't, just saying, right? But remember, what were we saying earlier? What are these relationships? What are people using to pull you into a relationship? Whether it's going to be positive or negative. Thank you for the love, Dark Doll. What are people using in these relationships to pull you in? They're using needs and wants. You ever watch this, right? They're using needs and wants. They might use a trap, but see, the need and want is the bait. Once you go for the bait, that's the trap. Once you go for the bait, that's the trap. How you doing, Sister Gertrude? Thanks for coming over. Once you go for the bait, that's the right. Once you go for the need or the want, so you got to know the environment. Did you catch that? Right? Animals have a lot more sense of what you might think. They might end up in the trap, but a lot of times there's a lot of animals that don't just go for the trap. You know why? Taking their time. Is this really? I mean, this doesn't look right. We know that's a cage. It doesn't know that's a cage, but it knows the cages don't really go in its environment. You mean I'm in the middle of a field and somebody just left some food out here? That's a little weird, right? it takes its time. But like, wait a minute, something. Let me see. You know what? I'm not gonna touch it. It's not worth it. But there will be an animal that falls for it. It might be because the animal doesn't have any choice. Maybe the animal, if it doesn't eat this, who knows next time it'll eat. Right? Who knows next time that animal will eat. So that animal might be like, yeah, you know what? I don't have any choice. And then boom. People are using needs and wants, right? People will use blessings. Right? Or so-called blessings. People will use blessings. Be careful. Be careful, right? Because not every blessing is from the Most High. We don't like that because we think that blessing is only positive. But somebody can bless you with a negative thing, or they can bless you with something that's positive, but it leads to negative. You said you were trapped and was told because you were clean, educated, independent, no baggage. Okay. Mm-hmm. Right. So be careful. Some people will give you a blessing. The devil, do you not know that the devil has the ability to bless you? You said you determine the outcome. No, I mean, hey, sure. Sure. Accountability and all that, sure. But be careful. careful. See, once again, but here's the point. Where's the environment? See, we do this weird thing where the devil is dumb, the devil is stupid, the devil has no ability. The devil, if you believe in Yahweh and you believe in the devil, how you doing, Brother Anthony? And thank you for the love. I've never seen that one before. Appreciate you. If you believe in the devil, right? The devil was the right hand man of the Most High, or the right hand spirit, if you will. Man means spirit, anyways. But it was the right hand man of the Most High. Do you not think that the devil doesn't know how to be able to look at your life and see what it is that you like? Said right. He made an offer to a blessing to Christ. Yeah. Like we had this weird thing. When the devil shows up to Yehoshaphat, that's a great point. When the devil shows up to Yehoshaphat in the wilderness, right? Let's get into this. When the devil shows up to Yehoshaphat in the wilderness, he offered Christ nothing more than what Christ already was. Come on, somebody, right? We do this weird thing where the devil is offering you all these things that you are not. No, he's offering you something that you are, hoping that you'll give up what is for you for what you are. It sounds weird, but hear what I'm saying, right? You are a king already. So if I give you things that a king wants, I know you have a king's appetite. You are a queen already. So if I give you what a queen's appetite is, what a queen needs anyways, then I'm waiting to see, will you go ahead and come on over? You're already a king. You already want this. You're a human being and you're the Messiah. You have power to be able to change whatever. You created the stone. You created the bread. So why not turn this stone into bread? You said, "Oh, can you have your own thoughts and questions?" I'm sorry, I missed all that. Right? Yeah, don't worry about that. Go. We can focus over here. We don't have to do all this. Right. So, right. So you can turn. Right. You can already turn the stone into bread. Yehoshaphat's response wasn't, "I cannot turn the stone into bread." His response was, "Man should not live by bread alone. Now's not the time for me to worry about the bread. I'm fasting." He didn't give him something that he didn't need. He needed food. His body, he was suffering. He had chose to go through suffering to be able to get ready to go for the rest of his 3.5 year journey. Right? But he didn't offer him anything that he wasn't. Then what does he do next? He brings him on the top of the temple and has him look down and says, "Look, man, all you got to do, right? Like this temple is yours anyway. They're supposed to be bound down to you anyways. Just go ahead and, you know, all you got to do is just a little something, right? Just throw yourself off the temple. You know the angels will come and save you." And then he quotes scripture. The devil didn't just say something random. He quoted scripture then to back it up. The next one, then he says, "Okay, look, I'm gonna bring you." He shows him all the kingdoms of the earth. He's the King of Kings. This is already his. So he didn't give him anything that wasn't his. He tried to give. Watch this. He tried to give it to him outside of its time, outside of its season. It's for you, King. You the King of Kings. You the Lord of Lords. But it's not your season. People want you to move outside of your season. Be careful. It's a trap. Right? It's not your season. It's not your season. Right? Be careful. It's a trap. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, it's a blessing. It's exactly what you need, but it is exactly what you want. It's exactly what you're created to be, but it might not be time yet. You said, so quoting scriptures means nothing if we don't know the truth. Well, quoting scriptures doesn't mean anything if it's not within its season, if it's not within its culture. For example, you can quote a scripture and talk about how God made the firmament. Problem is that the word firmament didn't exist yet. and the word God didn't exist yet. God is a Germanic deity. Firmament is actually a Greek deity. That's the son who had sex with his own mother, but the son of God, right? But they reworked something that was already written when it went to the Septuagint or Greek lettering. But before there was any Greek alphabet, there was an aleph bet or aleph bet or aleph bait by the people who actually wrote the word of Yah. So I can know this, right? I can have heard this before, but if I don't have the culture to associate with it, then it's a trap too. And how you doing, Sister Shima? See, a lot of us are trapped not because what you're getting is wrong, not because it's not a blessing, not because it's not something that is of value. You could be getting into something and it's not time. It's not time. Even though Yehoshua ended up ultimately obeying his mother because he had to honor his mother, right? That's law. But what was Yeshua's response when his mother was basically saying, look, man, you got to do something about the fact that these people don't have any wine at this wedding? He said, woman in our culture, ashach in our culture, he was even calling her a wife, right? He was giving her a term of honor. Nowadays, y'all hear some woman in somebody else's culture, you think that we're belittling you because they belittle women in the culture that you're in, right? But he said, woman, he said, ashach, he said, mother, woman of value, woman of virtue. He said, it is not yet my time. It's not that they don't need wine. It's not that I don't have the ability to take care of it. It's not that I'm not the Messiah. Woman, it's not yet my time. How you doing, Sister Joy? See, it just might not be your time, right? Focus on being who you're supposed to be in eternity so that when it's time, you'll just go into who you're supposed to be. But you already are. See, oh, okay, amen. I hear you, Holy Spirit. It's not even, you are who you are in eternity. The problem is not who you are in eternity. The problem is the time. Moses, he knew who he was as an Israelite. He sees an Israelite getting beat to death. He kills the Kemetic person. He's going to be the savior of Israel. But he went too early. He had to run away. Why? Because it was not yet his time. Right? In your relationships, have you made sure that you've been developing your eternal self so that when the time comes, you can move correctly? Amen. Tama, right? When the time comes, I need to move correctly. Who I am is who I am. Who you are is who you are. Don't doubt who you are. But now you got to start looking for the time. See, because we act like because eternity is always there, that time doesn't matter. But before there was sin and before there was death, there were sun, moon, and stars to do what? To help us with seasons. That means that in eternity, time is there. Time does not stand still in eternity, but time is not separate from eternity. Time fits inside of eternity. How you doing, Sister Helen? And see, it's not yet my time. Your relationships, what is it on time? They used to sing, he's an on time, yeah. Oh, yes, he is. Right? Y'all remember that? Oh, he's an on time, yeah. Yes, he is. What's the next part they used to say? He may not come when you want him, but he'll be there right on time. Why? Because he's an on time, yeah. What? Yes, he's on time. He may not come when you want him, but he'll be there on time. Could you be chasing relationships because the timing is wrong? Because I shouldn't have to chase a relationship when it's on time. Oh, praise yeah. See, you got to talk about this. This is your husband. He's on time. My wife was an exchange student over in Switzerland, right? If you go to Switzerland, guess what? You can't be over there. You can't be late. If you want to catch a bus and that bus says it's coming at 8:13, don't get there at 8:12 because there's a possibility you might not be able to get on because at 8:13, it's gone. If you want to catch a train, don't be there at 10:10 if it's supposed to be gone at 10:10. You need to be there at least at 9:30. because they will literally look at you. They don't care what your race, your color, what language you speak. They got racism issues. They don't even like, Germanic people don't really hang with French people over there, who don't really hang with I forget what the other language they speak is. It Italian, whatever, right? They don't really, but guess what? Time is everything, right? And so you better be in position so that when it's time, you can get on. Relationships are the same way. If your relationships are not on time, it's a trap. You see that? If your relationships are not on time, it's a trap. You need to know who Yah is in eternity so you can be there in eternity when it's time. See, and people keep wanting to say, well, don't worry about time. Time doesn't matter. No, time is seasons. Seasons are eternally going to happen without end. You think that once the new heaven and new earth is established, see, well, a lot of people don't even recognize this. A lot of our theology that we go by says that when you get to heaven, every day will be Sunday, and that's all you'll do. You'll just sing. That's not scriptural. There's still work to be done. You'll be charged with things that you can't even fathom right now. Don't you say, you said indigenous people view time differently? They run off the spirit of the environment. Yeah, sure, depending. I'm Anakitoya, so I'm what they would call Cherokee. My family, is Seminole, Choctaw, Blackfoot, Creek. I'm very familiar with Sioux and Haudenosaunee culture as well. Navajo, kind of sort of just getting into, had a chance to visit some of this stuff for the first time, in person last year. Some of the people, and see some of the things they do in their culture. So yeah, there are some indigenous tribes, sure, but not even all of them. But at the end of the day, time is something that's eternal, right? The earth must be taken care of eternally. If you're going to live on something eternally, you have to take care of it eternally. And there's seasons, right? If you're dealing with the people who were up in what we now call Manhattan, right, and the islands that are up there and stuff like that, that still are some of the most beautiful, luxurious places you can see. They used to literally, for generations, they would burn a third of it. They would let a third of it recover. They would live in a third of it, and they kept it going over and over and over again, right? The people of the Amazon. People don't know the Amazon River is actually a man-made, more than likely. The Amazon River is actually man-made, and they actually have dirt that people still discover to this day that the dirt was made by them. That because the dirt in the Amazon is not actually great dirt. It's not actually that fertile, even though you'd be like, well, it's a rainforest. It's really not that fertile. But they had actually created some stuff to make sure that they could put it into the earth. So people have gone and gotten the ancient dirt that these people made and put it with really bad earth, and they found that the really bad earth becomes fertile again. See, so even the context of it, our context of eternity and time, we mix and match a lot of different things, right? We mix and match a lot of different cultures. We mix and match a lot. So once again, what is your cultural context of time? If your time, what is your cultural context of eternity? They affect your relationships. They're going to affect your relationships. They're going to affect your relationships. Yep, the year of rest for the land, right? There should be time that the land gets to rest. Some people want to try to grow things all year long. That's why they started using soy. Now they got so much soy because they wanted to make sure soy was growing during the wintertime, that now you got so much soy that now they're telling you should eat soy all the time. You shouldn't be eating soy all the time. And if you eat soy, you should only use it to be able to pull out toxins out of your body and keep it moving. Right? But their thought process of time is different than ours. Their thought process of eternity, right? We have this thing where we don't deal with those things, right? But there's a thought process of time. There's a thought process of eternity. Time exist within eternity? Sure, eternity could exist without time, but part of eternity is time. This is why vision is important. In eternity, I own businesses. That's great. In time, what is the timeline? In eternity, I own businesses, but what is the timeline? You catch it, right? In eternity, I own businesses. That's great. What is the timeline? You said, what about protein? I mean, soy has protein. Problem with soy is that soy is designed, the soy that you're eating, soy pulls out toxins, right? So if somebody grows soy, it's pulling out a whole bunch of metals, which your body needs some metals, sure, but it's also pulling out levels of things that you don't necessarily need. Now, sisters actually can get more out of it because a lot of sisters, especially because of what you're designed to do, and because you actually give birth all the time, we don't think about it because we don't, you bear children all the time, but a lot of the children are not what? They're not, they don't have seed. And so, like, in your garden, in your womb, the baby comes down, no life is given, no seed, no zara, no word is spoken into it, right? And so it begins to die. And because of that, it's called unclean. And clean, in our culture, is talking about it's not lawful. Why? Because it's death. So death is upon you, and you have these hormones, right? The, like, Abel dies and the blood cries up from the ground, but in your garden, the blood cries up, right? So our sisters are usually deficient in many metals because you're giving, you're bearing children all the time. We don't think about it that way because we've gotten away from calling children children and babies children, and babies that are in the womb children, but you're bearing children all the time. I'm sorry, with my wife. And by the way, my wife's a herbalist. For those that don't know, she said heavy metals can cause brain issues and liver issues. Right. So you're dealing with a lot of different stuff. If you're having liver issues, memory issues, brain tissue issues, things like that, it could be because of the soy. Especially if you're eating too much of it. Everything we eat is not, should not just be looked at as something to eat as far as food, but think about food as medicine, right? So yeah, there's protein that comes with the soy, but there's other things that come with it. So especially as a male, because males hold on to metals a lot more than sisters do. That's why sisters are usually cold. Why? Because sisters are usually iron deficient, right? Right. So sisters usually going to be the ones that chew on ice more. They're usually going to be the ones to say it's always, cold in here. They want it to be hotter and stuff. Guys are always complaining that it's too hot. Sisters are always saying it's too cold. You're dealing with iron deficiency, right? So your body might need the iron. Once again, remember the need might end up being a trap. So are there other things you can get iron from or other things you can get metals from? Sure. You could drink out of an iron cup or something like that for sure. But you could also just eat other plant life that has irons. You could make sure you have magnesium. You could drink out of a copper cup. The copper helps to make sure that your magnesium or that your magnesium levels are going to be better. You can have magnesium. Anything that's green, by the way, is heavy in magnesium. That's a metal, right? There's a lot of different things that we can have that have these metals in them. But the soy, the bad thing about the soy as well, it gives a sense of fake estrogen or false estrogen. Same thing plastic does. So if I have fake estrogen, my body will think that I have estrogen levels, and it will begin to do stuff. But also, it will try to digest the fake estrogen. If it tries to digest something that's fake, then you're eating something that's not real. So now your cells are falling apart. Now you got cancer issues that can pop up. Now you got cell membrane issues, right? So these are things that are vital for us to know. So yeah, there are proteins, but there's other things you can get protein from. Even if you're not eating meat, there's other things you can get protein from besides soy. So is soy, and by the way, let's be honest, just like anything else, you got to be careful because a lot of us just eat soy. Just like when we find out about something, we just go, yeah, eat this, eat this, eat this. You might be eating something that might be modified soy as well, but we don't even check it to see it, right? We don't vet it. We don't do research. You said, oh, now I'm a nutritionist as well. Well, like I said, my wife is a herbalist. She actually has a company in which she helps people to be healed all the time, not just as far as just her proteins, her tinctures and stuff that she makes, right, by hand, and literally forages and stuff, and puts together things and feeds us, like she did last night, out of those things. But also, my wife, and I'm an assistant of sorts to her. So, what my wife's business is becomes my business, and the classes she teaches are classes I go to, and things of that. So yeah, I'm not a nutritionist, but I'm proficient at nutrition. So I guess you can call me a nutritionist, because IST just means you're proficient at something, and obviously I'm speaking on something that I'm proficient in. I mean, you can test it out though, study it to see if it actually makes sense, right? Also, too, I used to work for my wife's mother, who not only is a herbalist and as well, my wife also is a biologist by degree and knows chemistry as well. But you know, her mother is somebody who works in the health field, and I worked for her. And so I taught many people about different things, people who would become surgical techs and people who would want to get their CPR first aid stuff and phlebotomists and things of that nature. Like, I was able to teach them and help them as well. So I have a little bit of knowledge, just a little bit, just a little bit. But yeah, I guess you could call me somebody um, who speaks. I try not to speak on things that I don't know of, and I try to give context and facts together. Context without facts don't really mean much, and facts without context don't really mean much. But contextual facts are what we should be looking for. So praise God. Yeah. I think I live a lifestyle that allows me to be able to speak on some things, and I've made enough mistakes not living that lifestyle. Praise God. Right. And thanks, man. Appreciate you. And my wife, once again, is a herbalist. Like that's what she does, and she literally looks at people's charts, talks about things they've taken, looks at what's happened to them as children, looks at stress levels, all that, and helps people to be healed all the time. So yeah, but yeah, we should. And once again, and that's a sign of a great relationship too. Or we're talking about relationships. I'm married to the greatest woman that ever walked the face of this planet. So anything she tells me, I've learned to trust it. you know, but yeah, you got so getting back to it, what were we talking about? Yeah, protein. There's plenty of things. Like my wife was putting in there avocados, different things like that. You can definitely, um, look into those things and be aware of some of that stuff. So there's a lot of stuff you can get for protein. But yeah, soy comes with a lot of different things. Remember, why? Once again, you might go for something that's a need, but look at the environment. Soy was something that started picking up because they were growing so much of it. They initially started growing soy the way that they do it because they wanted the ground to remain fertile during the wintertime because it was a lot of work to make sure that you got the ground back together during spring. So they wanted stuff to keep growing. So what do? You put soy in the ground and you don't eat it. They didn't even eat it at first, right? But then you have so much of it. Well, we're throwing it away. What do? You end up selling it and telling people now it's something you should eat regularly, and now they've made money off it. Same thing that happened with fluoride and stuff. They used to have so much fluoride just laying around. It was waste. But they said, hey, everybody needs fluoride. Now they put it in your drinking water. Now it's in your toothpaste. Hey, how you doing, Sister Kelly? Right. So now it's in those things. You see. So same thing with fluoride. I mean, same thing with soy. Right? So the very thing that your body needs, right? Your body needs protein, but is soy the only source of protein? Right? Your body needs metals, but is soy the only place you can get metals from? How you doing, Israel's Blueprint? Thanks for coming on over. So once again, the devil knows how to bless you too. Up there you go. Thank you, babe. My wife said soy is known as a neurotoxin. Most plant-based people stay away from it. Now, every once in a while, like I said, I'll have some soy if I'm trying to draw something out, but I also know I can't. So I'm using it as a purifier. I'm using it as like, okay, soy draws stuff out. So if I feel like I'm dealing with stuff, or sometimes like I've gotten myself in trouble before where I have like a lot of diabetic type symptoms going on. I go, oh, I need to draw something out. So now I'll go to a certain vegan place and I might get the vegan mac and cheese because 9 times out of 10, the vegan mac and cheese made out of soy. And I may get a whole bunch of it and I just eat it, a lot of it for that day. But I'm not going, or maybe even 2 days in a row, but I'm not going to eat it for a week. Yeah, because soy, thank you, babe. Yeah, soy mimics estrogen. And if your estrogen levels, so you got to even comprehend this, right? If your estrogen levels are too high, right? As a man, especially, if your estrogen levels are too high, what's going to happen to you? If your estrogen levels are too high as a man, a lot of people are probably going to go the opposite way than what I'm thinking, right? Excess estrogen is seen as waste to the body. Also, too, when brothers are trying to lift more weights, guess what they do? When they take what we call PEDs or performance enhancing drugs or whatever, guess what? When a brother is taking his estrogen levels get high, guess what he's doing? Right? He's going to become more aggressive, and over time, might even start to become more feminine. You see, so if you have false estrogen, by the way, that happens with plastic as well. Plastic makes the body think that its estrogen is too high. Yeah. So you said, what meal would you say you eat often? We kind of mix and match a lot. I don't know if we eat anything specifically all the time. If I'm on a specific diet, like specifically because I'm trying to hit something medicinally, I'll focus on a particular diet over and over and over again. Like for years, well, not years, for months at one point, I had my family sick of quinoa because that's all I was eating was quinoa. Everything was quinoa every day. I would only eat once a day. I would eat a big, huge bowl, like a heaping bowl of quinoa with, was always the base, and then whatever I was looking at as far as healing outside of it. But I was using the quinoa because I was trying to redevelop my and get some stuff as far as constitutionally within my body. I was trying to get my melanin under control, and quinoa is great for melanin. So that was the main reason I was using it. But I really, but once again, I'm trying. I'm not always great at it. I'm not always perfect at it. And when I start traveling more and more, that's when it's actually the worst, because when you travel, you don't have as much control over what you eat. So I pick up bad habits, and I start going to fast food restaurants every once in a while when I'm on the road. And then you stop at gas stations all the time, and you're in an airport, you're doing this, you're doing that. Before you know it, you're all over the place, right? So there are some things that I'm there's some things that I'm aware that I'm not always as excellent as I like to be, but I try my best to, even when I go to fast food places, I'm pretty decent at being able to say, okay, well, give me this, but take off the ketchup and take out this and blah blah. Sometimes I don't do it, but I'm getting better at, like, give me this. Or if I'm gonna go to Chipotle, like, I probably not gonna do rice because their rice is not the best rice. So I'll be like, just give me beans, give me the black beans and the pinto beans, mix them together. Give me two things of give me extra fajita veggies. What is their little lineup or whatever? I don't do any meat there because their meat is suspect anyways. And then it'll be, give me all the veggies, no cheese. Actually give me the spiciest stuff that you have. Sometimes make it extra spicy if you can, if somebody knows how to do it, because that stuff will actually help me with sweating and getting rid of some of the stuff that I probably shouldn't have in me anyways. Give me extra guacamoles, and I'll get full anyways, because that's protein. So give me twice as much protein. And by the way, I think their guacamole, when you do the vegetarian one only, is free. So if you get a second one, you just pay. You go up to like what the meat price is anyways. Give me all the veggie stuff like that. Or so even if I end up in a place like that, I'm still thinking, like, what can I turn this into? Like, I don't have to eat just what you present me. I don't have to have the tortilla, even though is there tortilla corn? Are there tortillas corn? They should be, if it's actually like Mexican cuisine. I don't know. But you can still, if you know what you're doing, you can still inform the people and get as close to what you need as possible if you can't get 100%. How you doing, Sister Latoya? Sister Latoya Moon got a couple of Latoyas on you. It's flour. Okay. You said you thought you were the only one to eat that way. No, like, yeah, you got to. And I didn't used to be picky, and I'm still not picky enough. Like I said, I get in traps where I just, you get tired, or you're doing this, you don't feel like doing it. They're going to mess it up, and you got to tell them do it again, and then do it again, and they get mad at you. So sometimes, you end up. But once again, that's what environment, right? But you have to have a relationship. Here's a relationship. We're talking about relationships, not even thinking about it. You got to have a relationship with your food, because what you eat is who you are. Right? Isn't that, I said it differently because they say you are what you eat, but you got to have a relationship with your food because, right, what you eat is who you are. You are what you eat. Exactly. Yeah. I used to think like that. Like, you're so picky. And when I grew up, now I was eating differently when I was growing up. Anyways, I was eating more healthy. Anyways, but um, you know, I used to be like, man, people are so picky. I just eat. I just eat whatever's there. Blah blah. Even if I don't like it, I got to eat it. But you should be picky, and you should be eating according to what you need. Once again, not just what you need, but what you need in its timing. You might be eating something that's healthy, but it might not be time for that. Your body might need you to do something else. Or if your body's healthy, you might need to start thinking eternally. So when something comes up in time, right? Like, maybe you're fine, you don't have any bone issues, but guess what? You might want to go through a process of eating some calcium for a long time, making sure you're heavy in calcium. Why? Because down the road, something might happen, and you were not ready for what was coming up. You said you need some elderberry. Yeah, feel free to reach out to Elder Maya. She'll definitely help you out. You said you eat anything under the sun, but what you put in your body is only what it means at that time. Yeah, we're out of relationship with our food and don't know where it comes from or what it is. That's a great point, babe. Like that's we're out of relationship. So even in that, like animals have relationship with their food. Animals have relationship with their food. Animals don't just eat whatever. There are some animals, sure, that eat whatever they want. Sister Joy, you have Elder Maya's number. I'm gonna put it in the chat just to make sure. Bloom and flourish. I want to text her. Please text her, by the way. If you try to call, she might not be able to answer, but if you right away, but if you text her, she'll be able to get back to you. Praise y'all. Right? But like animals don't just eat whatever. Animals have more sense. The ones that eat whatever, those are the ones that are easiest to kill with poisons and stuff like that. Animals have more sense than that. Ants don't just eat whatever. Ants don't just allow whatever. But my wife's on now. She's at Bloom and Flourish on here. So if you'd like to be able to ask her, click on there. Maybe send her a DM or she just put her information on there as well. Maybe send her a text. She can definitely help you with kidneys for sure. You said that's why dogs know what to eat when they have an upset stomach. Yeah. We just had our dog. Well, that's family dog. It's not with us now. It's where we came from a little while ago, but staying with some people for us. But she got sick a couple times. Guess what she did? She ate grass. If I were to just give her a bowl of grass, she wouldn't eat it normally, right? But when I go outside, I see her eating grass. Up, she's sick. She need to get something out of her body. It's only a matter of time she's gonna throw up. you know. Now, if you talk to my wife, just to let you know, Bloom and Flourish, that's a business, right? So you're dealing with a business. She'll still work with you as far as stuff, but just realize it's a business. With us, we do everything via donation at SOC. My wife's business is my wife's business, literally. It's her business. So you got to talk to her about this and stuff, whatever. Don't come in there being like, I need the Kofi discount. That ain't how that works. Okay. I'm just letting you know she has a business. She'll work with you, but she has a business. She gotta pay the bills. All right. So just letting y'all know up front. I don't want anybody being like, "Oh, I talked to Pastor Kofi's wife, and they running a scam, and they just out here trying to get." No, she runs a business. She has a nonprofit as well, but that's not the healing part. That's to make sure people getting clothes and food and stuff like that. Just making it known. I don't want to get no response. I don't want anybody coming out with no videos. Pastor Kofi's wife, Pastor Kofi, that they just scamming and blah blah this and that. Nope, that's not the that's not that's a different relationship. That's a job. That's the business relationship. Okay. It's about relationships. But you hear what I'm saying? A lot of us are out of touch with food. I know you wouldn't do that. I'm just saying, we believe it or not, people, I've told y'all before, people have started whole channels and stuff and gotten a lot of views and stuff based off of just like saying, "Up, Kofi ain't blah blah blah, this and that or whatever." It is what it is. But just putting that out there so that nobody can say, "Up, there's no evidence." We got to record it right here, and we got to record it multiple times for real. But we got to record it right here today, right here on YouTube. You can see very clearly. We got to record it on there. It's written out there. She's dealing with a business. Okay, but I just wanted to say that. But once again, get back to the relationship. We don't have a relationship with food. You know, we don't have a relationship with food. Like something as simple as right? Something as simple as being able to. We see dandelion, right? And we see dandelion as a threat, right? We see dandelion as a threat. We see dandelion as a threat. You're told to spray dandelion with all types of chemicals and kill it and all this stuff. Why would you want to kill this? This is one of the greatest things for your body to ever exist. This is one of the greatest things for your body that's ever existed. How you doing, WCP? Yeah, you can eat anything, any kind of dandelion, from the rooter to the tutor, as they say, right? From the root to the flower to the seed, right? Any part you want. Now it's bitter. It's bitter, right? It helps with the blood. Um, it's bitter. That means it's going to help you with digestion. Anything that's bitter is going to help you with digestion. Also, those things that are bitter are usually going to help you with parasites. And a lot of diseases that people have, including what my mother had, I wish I'd known this back then. Multiple sclerosis, for example, you're dealing with parasites. Is it the same as dander? I don't know. I don't know. I've never really heard of the term dander, to be honest with you. You said you just mowed some yesterday. You thought it had to be full yellow. Mm-mm. Any part of dandelion. I think at any age, because some plants you have to be careful about their age too. There's some really big ones like way down the other end of the field that I'm on now. But yeah, my son was out picking some as we were walking through, and my wife was doing some foraging down this area the other day. But yeah, and a lot of times like we've been taught that stuff is not supposed to grow. You said MS brain spots. Please elaborate. Yeah, I mean, so basically, what they've discussed. I mean, it was kind of thought already, but recently, I don't know how much recently, so forgive me the timeline. I don't know if it was like a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years, whatever. But sometime recently, there were some people that said, you know what, we keep seeing these spots and stuff like that on, and whenever they do the MRIs and stuff, or if it's the MRI, forgive me, I might be using the wrong term. Yeah, and all parts of the dandelion are edible. But they were doing something where they were talking about, um, what was it? Basically they knew that when they would do these tests, they would always see that everybody with MS, had spots. My mother would have spots on the brain, spots on her spine, spots in certain areas. And then one day a guy is doing, who's a undertaker. Oh, dander is small, animal dandruff. Okay, that's not the same. Um, what was I saying? Um, so a guy, he's doing work on the body, and he realizes as he's doing his work on the body, he's like, there's all these parasites in certain places, and he realizes that the um he realizes that all the people that have the parasites in the same area, all of them are MS patients. They, or at least they were before they passed, but they all are MS patients. How you doing, Sister Juanetta? So he does some research. He says, okay, let's look into this. And then he gives it to somebody who does MRIs and things like that. And they're like, yeah, it's in the same exact spots. And they started doing some research and they put two and two together. Like, yeah, if you have parasites in these spots, or even if you use that parasites in these spots, this is actually what's causing the MS. So we can find out how to make sure we cleanse you of those parasites. It'll still take a little time for you to heal and get back in order. And especially if you haven't been able to walk or do certain things like that, we have to get you used to standing up without having head rushes and all types of stuff that comes with being in a wheelchair all the time. But it's like, yeah, we could actually begin to get you in a healing process. And a lot of people with MS eventually start having memory issues and things. But that's because you deal with parasites. If we get the parasites away, you'll see that some of the brain activity begins to come back. Right. So there's a lot of, so I'm not saying dandelion per se is the only thing, because you have to learn also too how to eat to drive, so to speak, to push things to the places you want. Like, for example, if I'm dealing with somebody who has, and I'm not a doctor. Let me make that clear. I'm not a doctor. So if somebody gets out here, he's giving medical advice. I'm not giving medical advice. I'm telling you how herbs work in the body. Right? We provide, yeah, exactly. We provide support. My wife's business, she provides support for the body to heal itself. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. So we give you tools and we provide support to help you to realize that your body is able to heal itself. Doctors do not heal, right? Your body heals itself. Herbalists do not heal. Your body heals itself. Okay? So let's make that plain. Thank you for correction, right? So thank you, babe. So, but hear what I'm saying. So if you're trying to do something, what's the tool that I would give you to help your body to heal itself? Let's say let's say you're a woman and you're dealing with breast cancer, right? So let's say you're a woman that's dealing with breast cancer, right? Now, usually, now the cancer, by the way, has many different meanings. So I'm just going to use a main one that's kind of agreed upon. But let's say your body's dealing with breast cancer, right? A lot of times cancer gets into where your cells are only getting 40% of the oxygen that it needs, as well as it can be in many different other things that can be considered to be cancer, right? Eating itself, not being able to digest, etc., right? So let's say you're dealing with breast cancer. If I want to make sure that I deal with oxygen, I could make sure that I do something like just give you a lot of grapes with seeds, of course, right? Um, Something that simple, right? I could say eat a bunch of these for a really long time. However, if I'm not careful, right? And there's many other different things. My wife even has a tincture that helps out with people who have cancer symptoms, to be able to help your body to use its tools to be able to start working on itself. Um, but let's say that you take the tincture, or you get some seeded grapes or whatever it is that you're using, right? But you're just like, I'm not getting anything that's there. Well, you got to learn how to eat to make sure that you push it to wherever it is that you need it. So let's say your cancer's in the breast, like we were saying. Well, what's some food that helps with breast and helps with development of breast milk, even for those that are, dealing with feeding their babies, or you have somebody, a grandchild or something, and you want to make sure they're getting fed correctly. What's some food that you can eat? Right? Grapefruit, citrus. Grapefruit, if you were to cut grapefruit in half and put it on your chest, right, or put it near your chest, if you were to look at it, it would look like breast. If you were to turn it inside out, it would look like your mammary glands. Oranges, right, if you were to cut them in half and put them there, they would look like breasts. If you were to turn them around, they would look like mammary glands. Lemons, if you were to cut them in half, they'd even have, lemons usually have a little thing protruding, right? They would look like breasts and nipples. If you turn them inside out, they would look like mammary glands. Limes, if you were to cut them in half, you put them there, right, breasts, turn them around, they look like what? Mammary glands, right? So if I know that's something that goes to your chest, right, then I would give you the grapes, or I'd give you whatever tincture, whatever it is that you're using, whatever herb, and then I would, to make sure it goes to the chest, the area that the milk's going to be developed, right? If that's where we want it to go, I would have you eat that as well. Now, I also, before I do that, I would probably say, hey, what's your magnesium level? Because if your magnesium levels are bad, you don't digest. So I could give you something, but if you don't digest food well, it doesn't matter what I give you to eat. So we might want to make sure you're digesting correctly. Hey, what is your, what are your iron levels? What is this? What's that? I might want to make sure some things are looked at as well. But ultimately, I'm going to learn, right? So let's say you had cancer, but the cancer was in a place where you were dealing with your joints, right? Well, what deals with your joints? What can you eat for your joints, right? Cumin, turmeric. If you do turmeric, you got to have black pepper to activate it. So I might be able to go ahead, cayenne pepper at times. So right, so I might use that and be able to flush whatever I'm getting right to your joints. You see? So these are things that I need to be aware of, that I need to have conversation about, that I need to think about when I'm eating. But once again, you have to have a relationship with your food. You are what you eat. You are what you eat. If you're just eating whatever, then you'll be whatever. If you're eating things that don't help your memory, you're probably going to have issues with memory. Right? If you're having issues with the prostate, or even with the testicular area, things like that, guess what? You could have some figs. The prostate, you could even eat. Hold on, give me a second. I can't remember what it is. I know what it looks like. What's the one I'm thinking about? I mean, you can eat, by the way, just fruits and vegetables, by the way. And by the way, stuff that heals the male's um, sexual organs also heals the female sexual organs. Thank you for the love. Appreciate it. Yeah, I think prostate, you probably could just do a lot of fruit and vegetables. By the way, a lot of people with diabetic symptoms, fruit and vegetables, fruit diet, all fruit diet will actually help, because when you're dealing with a lot of stuff diabetic, it's not the only reason, but a lot of stuff that you're dealing with is going to be your pancreas. A lot of times what you're dealing with too can be mm, your thyroid, right? When I get in a certain place, if my eyes start like kind of bugging a little bit, it's like thyroid issue. If I were to ever see that, I got to be like, okay, let me get that together. Like when I see that, I got to be like, oh, okay, like they started coming out a little bit. I need to make sure something's going on thyroid, right? That's a hormone, and the thyroid is something that's regulating, right? It's a hormone. It's regulating your cycles and stuff. Just saw palmetto. Okay, eat some cabbage for your prostate. There you go. right? And also, once again, thank you, babe, excess estrogen. So these are things. This is relationship, right? But we don't think about. We don't have relationship with food. Our relationship is not with food. Our relationship is with storage, right? Think about that. We have more relationship with where food is stored, right? That's what a store is. It's a storage unit. It's a storage container. Just because you get to go in and out doesn't mean that it's not storage. We have more relationship with the storage container than we do with the food. So we don't even think about that. You just go, I want some chicken tonight because chicken tastes great. You don't even think about the fact that your body is craving something that comes with either the chicken or the stuff they put in there or the saline solution or the salt that's all in there. Or I want steak tonight. You don't even think about, have they glued a bunch of pieces together to make that a steak? You know, said I'm seeking a healthier relationship with food. Praise Yahweh for healing. I'm not. You said you're from the country in Jamaica and foods were fresh every day. Mm-hmm. And by the way, even what we call fresh, I used to have this weird thing. I still do a little bit, if I be honest. Like the fruit had to look pristine, but when you say pristine fruit, like what does pristine even mean? A lot of times when you go in there, we have this commercialized mindset of food. Like, have y'all ever seen the commercials? Have y'all ever seen the commercials where um I might be familiar, the name's not ringing the bell, but have you ever seen the commercials where or not commercials, but have you ever seen the videos that they show on how they show you what a commercial food looks like, but then they show you what the actual food looks like, and then they show you how they have to fake things to get it in place, right? Like if you see pancakes, if you get pancakes from IHOP, and IHOP pancakes be looking great and everything, but if you see the commercial for it, they look completely different. Well, the reason is because the IHOP pancakes, first of all, they make them pretty much the same, and they take a lot of time, but they're putting some extra stuff in the flour and stuff to make sure that it looks a certain way. Then they're gonna make sure that they're gonna make sure that they put some kind of stick in there to make sure that the pancakes are stacked in a certain way and they can't move. Then they're not gonna use syrup on it. They're gonna use motor oil, right? Because the motor oil, it looks like syrup, but it also, it has like a nice thickness or whatever, and it has a certain way that's appetizing to you because you think that's what it's supposed to look. It's not even appetizing to you. It's just because of the commercials and stuff that they put in you and the stuff that they've shown you over and over and over again. You have a false image of it, right? Or if you see the milk when they use milk in the commercials, right? And you're like, man, this cereal looks so great. But when you pour your milk in the cereal, it looks like that for a hot second, and then it starts going different. And you got to eat it real fast before it gets soggy. So some of y'all don't like soggy cereal, right? Well, the reality is that they're not even using milk; they're using glue. you know, that's not what you think it is. It's not even real. They're not even using milk; they're using glue. And then even in the juice that they'll put in the background of a well-balanced diet, they're even doing stuff to the juice to make it look like something else, right? So we have more of a relationship with the modified than the natural law, the nature of the universe, universal law, universe. Uni is a, verse is a spoken sentence. So universal law, which universal law is the law of the one who spoke the universe into existence. Well, if you don't know kingdom law and the king's law, then how do you know the law of the universe, what's spoken? And if you don't know what's spoken into nature, then how do you know natural law? And if you don't know natural law, then how do you know what's substantive law? And if you don't know substantive law, how do you know procedural law? That's the procedures that you should go through and everything you do. But if you don't know procedural law, how do you have remedial law? The remedies that help you to be able to do things correct. But if you don't have substance to your law, then how do you have public and private law? You don't even know what's in the public, something that could be a lie, and the private, where at least you have a chance to be able to comprehend what's there for yourself. Study to show yourself approved, and then bring it to Elohim, who's the one who's the king of all, that he would be able to speak it, universal law, that you would be able to see your nature, natural law, that you would have some substantive law, that you would be able to have procedures in place, procedural law, that you would have a remedy in place, remedial law, that now we can start talking about, because of public and private, we can start talking about what's common law. We can start talking about what is equitable, the things that should have some value for you, law of equity. We can start talking about what admiralty law or what's maritime law as well. But we don't have any mindset because we don't even like law, because law is natural. Law doesn't give rights. Law protects rights. Thanks for being on. Is it Dirty Billy? Thanks for being on. Is it right? You seen the world of deception? right? Not the whole world is fake. And how can you be in partnership with something that's not real? Think about this now. My wife teaches this in class, and we're going to be having, she's going to be teaching herbalism tonight, right? Herbalism 2, I believe. My wife teaches this 70%, even if you live in the city. Now, some cities are a little, they obviously have messed us up some. But when you go outside, about 70% of what you're going to see is nature. And yet we don't know how 70% of the world works. Think about that now. That is a huge thing. No, it's going to be on classes, SOC University, so it'll be on Zoom, right? So it's and now if you have Patreon, we'll be putting the first session of each class on there for you guys, so you guys will get to see how the classes work. Um, but if you like more information, you can contact. Now, usually I would say get back to us. It's weird because normally what we use to contact everybody on is Kofi_43. This is Kofi_42, but they lied yesterday and said that we were giving hate speech. Because when we speak about culture, somebody doesn't like it, somebody can say that we're racist, and TikTok the news. So they've been doing this to us for months now, trying to take down everything we're doing on all our channels. So I'm literally behind the scenes. I wrote a little manifesto almost to them yesterday, and they immediately responded. So they told me to go to this place. So hopefully they'll get this stuff cleared up, and we'll be back on Kofi_43 sometime. But Kofi_43 is probably the best way to normally get in touch with us. But since we need to kind of make sure we're still reaching out to people, and who knows how long this thing takes for them to get it back on track. So if you'd like to, so what I'll do, Sister Latoya, it won't be through Kofi_42. I'll probably try to reach out through Kofi_43 later. Okay. So, and on order, right. So, and send a link. So that means that we have to be friends through Kofi_43. So just to give you a heads up. All right. And make sure that you know how that works. All right. You said your wife wants to know what SOC stands for, Servants of Christ. So bananas at Walmart taste like Laffy Taffy. They are pumped full of preservatives. Yeah, they don't. They definitely taste different than when even we were children, for sure. And definitely then if you get a chance to go to like a Hawaii, Jamaica, Africa, and taste a banana, Costa Rica. My wife's been down there. You eat a banana somewhere else, and you're like, oh, I've never had a banana before. You'll find out, right? Even some of these plantains that people be using, like you'll be like, oh, I don't know if that's really a plantain like that. Like a lot of people from other countries, when they be shopping in your stores, they're like, what is this? Like, this is not what apples look like. This is not what oranges. Your oranges don't have seeds. Like, they're freaked out by it. Yeah, my wife told me that. I didn't know that. That was the first time that in Costa Rica, like they'll just put bananas on the table and they just sit there for months. Right? I'm used to like even the greenest of bananas, they ain't gonna last for so long. But over there, they just sit there for months. Like what you're thinking about as far as like what's fake, you got to buy the fake stuff, the fake plastic fruit to have a fruit bowl like that. They just have fruit like that sitting there. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Right. Matter of fact, it was interesting when you go to Hawaii. That's how I found out. That's when I started going through the rabbit hole at first in my life when I was stationed in Hawaii at Pearl Harbor. There's an island, one of the islands over there. We're really like, in a sense, technically, like banana trees were all over the place, but technically, like all the banana trees are owned by Dole. Like you're not even supposed to really pick bananas over there, but people do it anyways. But if somebody want to be a jerk, technically all the trees are owned by Dole. Um, and they do that because even if you want to grow your own tree and have some real bananas, they want to be able to say they have ownership over it. People don't know this, by the way. Dole, the reason why America now owns Hawaii, and it's an American nation, if you will, is because you had King Kamehameha. He started doing business with the Brits because he liked how great they were at war. They started becoming more British than Polynesian, right, than Hawaiian. Then next thing you know, they started getting into these treaties. And the last princess, my daughter was actually born in the last princess's castle. But the last princess that was there, of Hawaii, she, forgive me, oh yeah, she basically gets trapped into having to have a, um, having to sign away her kingdom, and she signs it away to the owner of the Dole Corporation. The owner of the Dole Corporation then sells it to the Corporation of the United States, and that's why Hawaii is now a part of the American corporation. So, but anyways, when you go over there, there's a whole island where there's basically like that's where all the bananas that they grow, not all, but a heavy majority of bananas grow over there, and yeah, they're not real. They're not real. so but we don't have a relationship with our own food, right? We don't have a relationship with our own food. Yeah, they stole the island, they stole the land, and they stole the food. He said you can smell bananas ripen on the bunches a mile away. Yeah, see, I haven't had that experience, so I'd love to be able to experience that one time, be there at the right season, and start seeing that stuff coming to being. You said bananas here last about 2 days. Feel like it. So sometimes you buy them green, sometimes they're ripe the next day and taste it nasty. Oh, they use ethylene gas, yeah, to ripen bananas so they don't last. Yeah. He said, yes, they try, but they still keep their culture, even having the queen. hmm and so once again, it's relationships. We've been, and once again, like, what if your relationship? Think about this. What if your relationship is out of Stockholm? Is in Stockholm syndrome? Yep, Puerto Rico, same type of thing, right? Mexico, by the way, the people of Mexico, that obviously people that were native to the Americas were over here before anybody, but then even people that are Mexican, you talk about California, New Mexico, Arizona, all that stuff, around there, Texas, that was all Mexico. How you gonna tell people that they can't? We got to make sure that we take care of the border. It's like you stole the border. That's not your border. There are Mexicans that were over here when you took the border. They were like, "Oh, I guess we Americans now." like you know, like they weren't from here. I'm sorry, they were from here. You came over here. Talking about, they're sitting there trying to figure out what you mean we not from here. Thank you for the compliment. What you mean? What you mean this is American land? What does that even mean? And even their definition of an American, the original definition of American, is a copper colored person indigenous to the Americas. So what you mean you're more American than I am? It doesn't even make sense, right? Even the terms that we use. I tell people I don't mind being black all day, every day, right? And really, when I say black, I'm talking about what we consider to be the color black, right? But I also get, when people even give, like, once again, relationships. So somebody sent me a video, and I felt like after they sent me the video, I like where the video was headed. I felt like it's kind of incomplete, but it was just part of a bigger video. But I told it, so because of this, I kind of feel like I need to start explaining this more, because I tell people on paper, what are you is important. Who you are is more important than where you're from. Who you're from is more important than where you're from, all that stuff. Even in relationship with colors, the colors, right? Like, white is not a color. White is the absence of color, right? But there's some weird stuff that happens where you got to be careful, even like what you're getting out of dictionaries and things like that, right? Like, even your relationship with that, once again, animals look at relationships even in color, but they look at it different than we do. They know that melanin is a big deal, right? But they also know brightness of color and this and that or whatever. They look at it different, and they're looking at it more so for like status, as far as who you came from and what kind of strength you bring, right? Um, it's basically an identify. It's something to help identify. It's a characteristic, right? It's a characteristic, and so you have to be careful. So for my Moorish brethren out there, because I'm a Moor, and so are many of us, right? A Moor does not mean, by the way, that you're part of a nation, um, unless you're talking about Morocco. But Blackamoor and Moor and stuff was not always meant to be this person had to be from Morocco either, because a lot of people didn't use, things properly. It's just like when somebody says the that they're into the they studied the Punic Wars. It's not Punic Wars, it's Punic Wars, because they were Phoenicians, right? So you have to be careful with some of that stuff. Um, but in dealing with relationships as far as color, there are people that will bring you a dictionary, and this is like a real dictionary. Look at the dictionary from the 1800s and look up the color black and look up what it actually means. Um, they'll say that black and bleak and bleach are all the same word, and it gets confusing because you're like, well, wait a minute. So to bleach something would mean that you'd have to make it white, right? But you don't have a relationship with your culture, or you don't even have proper relationship with the culture you're trying to be part of. So we don't recognize when people have changed words, changed definitions, or what they might have meant at the time. Once again, remember eternity, but also remember there's time, there's seasons. So just because you use a term today like something doesn't mean it was used like that back then. So for example, somebody will say that therefore, because you are black, and they said that black means bleached, and it also means bleak, it must mean that it's black. But question, can you bleach something black? Can you bleach something orange? See, relationship even to words. Can you bleach something blue? So we have a weird thing, right? See? So like, can you bleach something and make it black? See, we think of bleach as nowadays, our only reference point to bleach for the most part is, you know, bleach like you're using for the house. So if bleach for the house makes your colors go away, but also too, it doesn't always make it white. Like you can have a certain color shirt, the bleach hits it, and now it's got orange spots or it's got blue spots, right? So I'm gonna look up. I'm gonna look up a modern definition of bleach for us, right? So bleach is means to whiten. Nowadays, we say whiten by exposure to sunlight or by a chemical process. That's as a verb. As a noun, it would be a chemical, typically a solution, typically not only, but typically a solution of sodium hypochlorite or hydrogen peroxide used to whiten or sterilize materials. So bleach does not mean it whitens. Bleach can means it sterilizes, right? So if you make a tie-dye shirt and you're dyeing it, technically you're bleaching it. But if you look up bleach and bleak, why do they use those terms in the 1800s? Why would they even say that black and bleach are the same thing? Well, you got to know the culture. See, so we're having an argument over somebody else's culture. A black person is a bleak person, right? You're coming from a culture where they said that white people came first. So if you had dark skin, you must have been bleached. Yeah, right. You said, and Blake, and how you doing, Sister Renee? Yeah, your last name can mean black, dark, as well as light white, right? Well, there's a reason for that, because you're also having what? You're having misappropriation happen too. If the people of Kemet, and Kemet coming from Kimi, right, or Kimi comes from Kemet, chemistry comes from chemistry, right? And the people who studied Kemet, they studied people that they said were black, like the soil they were on, right? The soil was black, it was Kemet. So they were the people of Kemet, the people of the black soil, but they also believed that they came from the soil, right? But if you have somebody else who comes into your culture and says all this stuff was really ours, then you have to change definitions, don't you? Right? You have to change definitions because you can't. And see, then we even have to have an honest conversation. There's many shades of people. So there are some people that are moreno. There are some people that are negro, but they're basically the same people. So if I talk about a negro, black, bleak, somebody, I'm also talking about a moreno because they're the same people. But then you got to get into other stuff. See, in our culture, in Haiti, to be black was great. So you got to talk about whose culture it is. What's the relationship with the culture? Once again, somebody asked about this earlier. What's the difference between culture and belief? The relationship with the culture, right? Or what comes out of your culture is going to inform your belief. So in Haiti, when they freed themselves from tyranny and they got back to being their own nation, guess what they said? Anybody who fought for us to become a nation, right, is allowed to stay here. Anybody who's not has to leave. And all white people, this is what Haiti did, right? When they got their independence, they said all white people have to leave. But what people don't want to tell you is that there were Germans, right? I believe Hessians, who were basically, out here, hired thugs for the most part, but they fight and go to war better than everybody else. They decided to fight with the Haitians. They decided to fight for the freedom of the Haitians. And so when the Haitians got free, guess what they said about those Germans? They said, you guys are black now. See, so the relationship with the culture is going to ultimately inform you of what's going on. So you read somebody's dictionary and you hear, oh, well, see, black is actually bleak and it's bleached and it's white because they're trying to say that's they're talking about something where they're saying that white people came first and this and that, whatever. You go to Haiti though, and you hear the term black, they say, oh no, black for us means that you fought for freedom. It doesn't mean the color of your skin. It means that you fought for freedom. If you go to Kemet and they're talking about, which they're not using the words black and stuff anyways, but if they're talking about Kimi or they're talking about the color, right, that's really, really dark, that everything comes out of the soil, that everything comes out of, that's something to be honored and adored. If you're talking about Kush, right, even today, Ethiopia, southern Ethiopia, southern Sudan, places where the Cushitic people are still are, guess what? Over there, their beauty, I'm not saying it needs to be the only beauty standard. I'm saying over there, their beauty standard is extremely dark skin, extremely white teeth, and extremely dark gums. See, whatever you believe in about yourself is coming out of a culture. Now, why do they believe that? Because way back, even in ancient times, this was the standard. Queen Sheba, when she comes over, Song of Solomon, and she says to him, I am dark and comely. I am dark and beautiful. I am dark and lovely. She says, my hair, right, my body, I am as dark as the tents of Kedar. If you look up the tents of Kedar, you will see that they are made out of extremely dark goat's wool. That's the standard over there, right? But if you go to Ireland, that's not the standard. They can still have women that are considered to be beautiful over there, but that's just not their standard, right? For a long time in England, right? And some people still would say, I don't know. I don't really pay attention enough anymore. But the joke used to be English had bad teeth, but that wasn't their standard for beauty. They didn't care about teeth like that. That's not their standard, right? Like every culture you go to, there's a different standard. Doesn't mean that they can't have beautiful women. They don't care about what you think. Like you think that women have to have these white, pristine, pearly white teeth and all this stuff over there. They're like, we don't care about that. Right? You go to some places and you'd be like, oh, like we've had family members that have gone to like Argentina and places like that. And there's somewhere else I'm trying to think, not Ecuador, but somewhere around there. And you go to certain places or whatever, and especially if you're around like very rich people in their societies, they're like everybody's like a size zero, is always doing drugs, and they barely eat anything. They go days and days and days without eating. So people over there that might be like a size 6, size 8, size 10, they're like outcasts. They're treated like they're riffraff over there, and people get sad, but they actually might be healthy. But over there, being healthy is not the standard, so they don't care. Paraguay, thank you, man. So that's not the standard, right? So those relationships, would you say that's a great relationship where everybody around you has to be unhealthy in order to be considered to be beautiful? We wouldn't say that. You shouldn't say that. Should we think the standard should be that these sisters who are look like look like sticks, a lot of them get to be your standard for supermodels, and they don't even look the way you think they do. They have to airbrush them to make you believe that their bodies look like that. You said you believe they're the most beautiful people. When you see your family, you can't help but touch them. Mm. You see, so you got to recognize like where you go, wherever your culture is, that's where it is. See, watch this. Why is it that you don't like? Why is it that in a lot of your relationships we have to think about colorism? Why is it in a lot of our relationships we think about colorism? How you doing, Betty Boop? You think about colorism because you came out of a culture where that was standard. That's what you understand. That was standard. You were under. You understand it. That's why. Why does color matter amongst people that color never mattered for? The only reason it even mattered was, hey, oh yeah, you come from these people. Okay, y'all probably gonna be this color. Outside of that, who cared? Who cared if you were black with blue eyes, black with hazel eyes, black with brown eyes? Who cared? Who cared if you were black with straight hair or locks? These relationships. Remember, we said, see, and which if you're not careful, you'll believe that the blessing comes from the person who's causing you the dismay, causing you to separate. If you would vote, everything would work out. But voting means I have to cause dissension. I can't just vote. I have to vote for one side or the other. I can't even say there's a third side. I mean, there's a third side, but I still have to vote for Republican and Democrat. The very thing they say is a blessing to you is what? Is a curse. Said American standards are all messed up. Some cultures that don't sexualize breasts, they are functional. However, the backs of knees are covered because that is their turn on, for lack of a better word. Yeah, I mean everything's in the culture. He said that's why I started personal training so I can teach acceptance of oneself and health. Yeah, a lot of those things, right? Personal training, talking to people, having relationships, and it starts off once again with relationship of self. We talked about this on the podcast. I believe this was last Saturday. I think this was last Saturday. We have a lot of different stuff we discuss on here. On the Shabbat Shalom podcast, we were talking about that whenever you have a question, every question starts with a quest. ION to TION on the word makes it a noun, a person, place, or thing. So a question or question is a quest. And you are the person on the quest, you are the thing on the quest, you're dealing with things on the quest, you're dealing with places. But every quest, the goal of a quest is to get an answer, to have a destination. Right? So if you are on a quest to get to your destiny, whether it's predestiny or destiny, if you're on a quest to get there, then the Most High has already put the answer in you. He's trying to get you to remember. You were a member of this. This was in you already. Something happened. Sin caused it to be dismembered. Now it's time for it to be what? Remembered. You see that? You see that? Like this is already stuff that's in you. Now unto him who's able to do exceeding abundantly above all you could ever ask or think according to the power that's where? It's already in you. Your quest is to just basically open up what's inside. Even the word education that we normally use, right? Education, yeah, I'm going to go a little extra on the original definition, but education literally just means to, if I'm going to be your educator, what I'm supposed to do is I'm supposed to reach inside you, pull out what's in you, show it to you, show you the potential, put it back inside you and say, let's get it. We've seen what's in you already. Let's make it happen. We've seen the greatness in you. Let's make it happen. Thank you for the love. We've seen the progress that you're going to make. We've seen the lives that you're going to change. We've seen how you can be able to get all these different things. We've seen that we've seen the mother in you. We've seen the wife in you. We've seen the healed person in you. We've seen the marriage in you. We've seen the seed in you. We've seen the father in you. We've seen the brother in you. We've seen the confidant in you. We've seen the society in you. We've seen the community. We've seen the love. We've seen the ability to push past, to prosper past any pain that somebody has implied, or the putrid nonsense that somebody has put inside of your heart or inside of your life or on your surroundings. We've seen that you have the ability to prosper past all these things and have great health and have great success, and to make successors, because you can't be a success without successors. So when you become a success, there will be generations that will be affected by your being better today. And in all those things that we've seen, and in all those things that we've seen, now it's time to go get it. I have faith in you. Now let's do the works. Something could be dying inside you because you don't have a relationship with yourself. You don't have a relationship with the kingdom that's in you. You don't have a relationship with the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords. You don't have a relationship with the Holy Spirit. You don't have relationships with your Father who art in heaven. Hallowed be his name. His kingdom come. His will be done on earth the same way it is in heaven. If your relationship isn't right in heaven, then what's your relationship on earth going to be like? I can promise you, people that have bad earth relationships, they have bad heavenly relationships. Amen, Sister Monica. Right? I promise you, if you can't communicate with your brother who you see every day, I don't know how in the world you want me to believe that you communicate with the Most High who you've never seen. I promise you, if you can quote scripture, right, but stab people in the back, you can pray a prayer and turn your back on the Most High all the time. If you can't ever admit that you've been wrong about something, if you can't ever ask somebody for forgiveness, then there's no way you going to the Most High and always saying I'm wrong. If you can't humble yourself before men, I promise you can't humble yourself before the King of Kings. Because if he's the King of Kings, you got to be able to humble yourself on a lower level before you can talk about humbling yourself on a higher level. A lot of y'all think because you humble yourself on a high level, you can humble yourself on a low level. No, 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 no. If you can't lower yourself, then you can't be exalted. If you can't be faithful over a few things, you can't be made a ruler over many. That y'all got this in reverse. You think because you're a ruler over many, you can be faithful over a few. You got this thing reversed. You got a bad relationship with this thing, right? You got to be able to take care. Can you take care of the dandelion? Can you eat one healthy meal? If you can't eat one healthy meal, you gonna be lost when it's time to eat many. If you can't forage for food now, how you gonna forage for food when they say, hey, you have to eat what we tell you, or else you can't come inside our stores until you get that mark? People have been telling you for the longest time, get yourself together. Make sure that you have some other kind of currency. Make sure you get some land. Make sure you come together as a community. Make sure you're all ready. Make sure that you're prepared. Even if y'all got to start together and be somewhere where y'all just going to be out there in the woods or something, but y'all at least will have something. Start getting yourself together. Start getting some tents. Start getting it. People have been telling y'all, and now it's getting real out here. And people are like, what are we going to do? You could have been doing for 10, 20 years. Right? You could have been doing it for 10, 20 years. And all of a sudden you got 10, 20 minutes and you're like, how are we going to work this? Y'all's been giving you clues for a long time, right? He's been telling you what to do for a long time. He's been telling you how marriage works for a long time. He's been telling you spirituality first for a long time. He's been telling you to make sure that you're not part of the beast for a long time. He's been telling you separate yourself. I didn't say segregate, but separate yourself from some of this foolishness. And you haven't done anything for a long time. He's been telling you some of that stuff you're watching on television. It's not going to help your people for a long time, but we keep doing those things. He's been saying, hey, have your stuff together. Make sure that you're doing it. Make sure you're working out. Make sure you're eating healthy. It's showing up on your stuff. It's not even part of your algorithm. You a foodie, and yet you keep seeing healthy food pop up. And it's irritating to you trying to scroll past it. You're waking up 3 in the rising before the rising of the sun. You're waking up at 3 in the at what they call in the morning, 3 a.m. every day, and you're sitting up there. I don't know why I've been waking up at 3 a.m. I don't have to use the bathroom. I don't have to do what he's here. Say, here I am. Next time you wake up, here am I. Here am I. What is it that you've been trying to tell me? What is it that's been that I can't see, but you can see? Why is it that you would even call me? Why is it that you want me to have this resolve? Why is it that you need me to be greater? Right? Why is it? Everything has a reason, but relationship, animals recognize relationship. If animals comprehend by the signs of things, there's going to be a storm. And so a lot of times we look to the scientists. If you want to know there's going to be a storm, look outside and be like, hey, I haven't seen any animals around for like a good 2-3 days. That might be that you might need to roll out. You might not need to see a storm come up. You might need to roll out. Why? Because they have a better relationship with nature. There's even a scripture, I forget which one it was. We were going over this recently. And Yehoshua is talking to people, and he says, look, you guys know when wind comes from this way, you know there's about to be a storm. And he said, you guys know when there's wind coming from this way, you know locusts are about to come on there. He says, but y'all don't have any sense when it comes to knowing what's going to happen when the spiritual winds are blowing. Right? He said, when the spiritual winds are blowing. If it's springtime, I should be hearing birds chirping and doing all this stuff. I expect it. But for whatever reason, when it's springtime and I don't hear birds chirping, I don't say, I might need to be inside today. I might need to go ahead and we might just invest. Let's just make today a family day. Let's just go. I don't know what it is. I'm going to call into work today. I don't know what I need to do. I'm not saying be a liar, but I'm just saying I might need to do whatever today, but ain't nothing chirping outside. We might need to go ahead and roll out today. Let's just go 2 hours out the way and let's go somewhere and let's go ahead and have some family time. Right? And sure enough, oh wow, all this stuff happened. Yeah. Check cows cluster together and face the opposite way of a storm before it hits. Yeah, I forget what animal it is. Matter of fact, there's an animal. I think it's they hunted them almost to extinction. What is it? Buffalo. When a storm hits, buffalo. When I found this out, I fell in love with buffalo all over it again. I don't know why I like big. My favorite animal is a hippo. I love elephants. I like lions, of course, too. Tigers, I like, but they're kind of scary to me. I like bears. I like really big animals for some reason. I love whales, killer whales, stuff like that. But the buffalo, the American buffalo, right? When a storm hits, guess what the American buffalo does, y'all? When a storm hits, guess what the American buffalo does? This was a blessing when I found this out. Oh, I didn't know there were a lot of buffalo in Catalina Island, California. Makes sense though, because it used to be all over the place, including over there. I would have never thought about that till you said it. Guess what buffalo do when the storm hits? Buffalo, when the storm hits, guess what they do? Thank you, Sir Stephen. Guess what they do? They run towards the storm. They run through it. And if you think about it, it makes sense. They run through the storm so they can just get through it quickly. And then once it's affecting everybody else and all the other animals that are trying to run away from it, they run through it so they can just go ahead and get back to grazing and get back to their life. We run from the storm. They run through the storm. They love storms. They don't love storms. Well, they don't like storms. They love storms. Remember, there's a difference between like and love. Like is your, you know, what you feel at the moment. Love is no matter how I feel, I'm going to act. You said you seen an unusual insect and was wondering what that meant in nature to yourself. Yeah, I saw some green bug the other day. It was interesting. I've never seen it before. But anyways, what was somebody put Isaiah chapter 4 verse 6 earlier? I know y'all been putting a bunch of scriptures, so forgive me. And there shall be a tabernacle for a shadow in the daytime from the heat, and a place of refuge, and for a covert or a comfort. Even some versions might say from storm and from rain. Yeah, you spend more time when you run from it. It's what I forget what they call it. A lot of movie critics on YouTube use this term a lot. Some term a lot. It's like they call it the something movie. There's some movie where basically they were running instead of just running out of the way of something, they kept running from it. And there's so many movies where you see like there's something coming after somebody, and if they would just move to the side, the thing could just go past them. I think a lot of people get it from Indiana Jones, but that's not what they call it. They call it the Prometheus. I haven't really watched that scene. I think I've seen that scene. They call it the Prometheus School of Running, or something like that. And basically, there's a situation where there's this huge thing behind them, but if they would just go to the side, or if they would just run to the side, the thing would just go past them. But they keep now we know the reason they probably did it in the movie as well is because they're trying to do a what to make sure that you keep the suspense and had that Indiana Jones feeling. But in Indiana Jones, he had to run straight because he couldn't go to the left or the right, so he had to run straight. Right? What you said? You said lions hunt more in storms because they can't be seen or heard. Yeah. By the way, lions also hunt more in the dark because they start their day just like Israel does. They start their day in the evening. They have more advantage. They also see better in the dark than everything else does. So yeah, a lot of stuff happens in the dark. If you want to go on a safari, last place you want to be on a safari is stuck out at night. Not because you can't see, but because everything else can see. Yeah, you might see some hunting near there, but the animals really be resting in the daytime. You want to see activity, bring out some night vision goggles on a safari and look, and you're gonna see some activity that you didn't even know existed. You said polar bear is your favorite animal. Yeah, and so a lot of people don't think about relationships. Relationships are important and vital. How you doing, TNT, my co? I don't know if I'm saying that right. And a lot of people spend more time in storms because they don't recognize if I just go through this storm, I'll be all right. I'm not saying do that with a hurricane. All right. So I don't want nobody saying Pastor Kofi said hurricane winds were going on. I should just go through the storm. I did not say that. All right. But I'm saying, right, don't have common sense, have kingdom sense, right? But what I'm here, what I'm trying to tell you is that a lot of people don't have relationship with anything of nature, what's natural, right? And we look down on people that have great relationships with what is nature or natural. We look down on them. Oh, those are hillbillies. That's country folk. They don't even live here. They don't live in Paris. They don't live in Paris like us. That's a country bumpkin. They down from down south. They do stuff like that. Man, that's just superstitious. Blah blah. I was like, you better listen to some of that. I'm not saying listen to every superstition. I'm not saying making idols out of this stuff. But hear what I'm saying? You best listen to some of that because some of that comes from experience, right? There's some stuff in there you used to think was crazy, right? But some of y'all wish you had some of y'all bet some of y'all need to get some of that castor oil up in you. You thought that was crazy. That thing will bless you. There's some stuff that's coated around parts of your body right now that castor oil will get out of you right now. you know, you might think it's crazy. That ain't crazy. Granddaddy and them, they always had whiskey. You thought they was getting drunk. No, they was dealing with something. And I'm not saying they should drink it so much, but whiskey will get some of that bad stuff about you, especially the kind of whiskey they was drinking. They wasn't drinking some of that nice whiskey that y'all buy at the store. They was drinking some of that stuff that they made. And some of that stuff will clear you out. There's some people that ain't never been to a hospital a day in their life and they died. People say, how in the world did you survive? You had this in your body and this in your body. And they look at their body after they did. They had some stuff for you. They had some stuff for you. When they used to tell you take that tussin, the Robitussin you take that now ain't the same as the original tussin. That original tussin will mess you up and it tastes nasty. But boy, it's gonna help you. That's why they always told you put some tussin on everything. But they had some different tussin back in the day. When they told you if you had a stomach ache, get some of that ginger ale. That ginger ale was real ginger ale. Hey, how you doing, Sister Eleanor? Welcome back. You said you were just saying that many of us don't teach foraging, fishing, self defense. Yeah, right. Like a lot of people say I drink ginger ale, and look, I'm not gonna hold you. I buy some of the ginger ale that really ain't our ginger ale, but ain't nothing like when I get some ginger ale from the family or some sorrel. Let somebody really know how to make some sorrel for real, for real. I thought I hated sorrel. My own people drink sorrel. I thought I hated sorrel. All of a sudden, I went somewhere and actually had somebody, our people that make sorrel, like makes it for real, for real. Then my wife made some too. Oh, like you can't, yeah, sorrel. That's where it's at. You said some original medicine had cocaine. You sure it did something? Well, that was more so other people's stuff too. Like they had to come against that. Now, cocaine, if used correctly, but see the way that they're using it, they're not using it correctly, anyways. And we shouldn't use just like in all. You shouldn't eat everything all the time. Like you can have, for example, there's these things. There's a certain type of fern. If my wife is on, she can tell me the exact name of it and the genus and everything. But there's when they're small, when they're babies, and they're still, they look like violin heads, like you know how a violin head looks like it's wrapped around, so you have the body of the violin that you put under your chin, right, and then you have the neck that you hold, and then you have up top, and at the top of it curves, and so the head of it at the top. There's some plants, when they're young, they're called fiddleheads. I forget what their fern is actually called, but they're called fiddlehead ferns. When those ferns get to be too old. Like we actually cooked some up the other day. We found some for some, cooked some the other day, and they tasted great. They tasted like I forget. They taste like really really they taste like buttered, not green beans, but buttered something close to that. But they tasted really great. I never had them cooked before. I just ate some of them, and I'd seen more than anything else. But the fiddlehead fern, if you see it like that, you can eat it then. But as soon as it matures and it starts to come away, it starts to unravel. Be careful. You can't eat it anymore. Tastes like asparagus. Okay, it was green beans. It's called ostrich fern. Thank you, babe. Ostrich fern. Young shoots are fiddlehead. So you want to get them when they're young, when they're older. Or, babe, I'm sorry. I should. It's not elderberry, but what is that? It's a purple plant that we eat, or the fruit is purple. We see a lot of times, like in some of the places in, like the Carolinas and Georgia and stuff that we've been at, uh, where we've seen like they're huge plants, and when you see them, like the fruit that grows, they're very small. You should only eat like a little bit of it. Like you should only eat maybe even like one a day. If you were to eat more than that, it would kill you. Um, I believe it's purple. I think it's purple. You know my colors be bad because what I think is purple, other people argue something else. I forget what it is, but you said it's a passion flower. I don't know if it's passion. Pokeweed. Pokeweed. Yeah, pokeweed. So yeah, so you got to be careful with that. But you can eat it, but you have to be in tune with nature. If you don't recognize those things, you don't know. So you have to be able to look at things. A lot of people don't think about the fact like violets are very pretty. Guess what violets also are? They're edible, right? My wife has even given people before. She's made for people violet syrup. My son loves making violet syrup. My son, he learned. I don't even know how to make violet syrup. He knows how to make syrup out of violets. So we've had violet syrup before. You know, my wife's working on making sure she does stuff to where like she does natural carbonation, so she can take certain things or whatever that grow, take herbs that have like put a little sugar and stuff in there, be a little sweet and things like that. Let it can it and let it stay in a certain position for a little bit, and now you got soda, natural soda. Carbonation and stuff that happens naturally. So it's like you can be in tune, but we feel like we have to buy carbonation from the store. You don't have to buy something carbonated from a store. You can have natural carbonation. We don't even think to see like, are there places where water actually like, just comes out like it's natural water. We don't even think to go places. There are parks, there's parks all over the place and all over the country where you could just bring containers and get stuff out of a spring and drink naturally. But that's not something that we think about. We don't think about that as even being something that's necessary to look into, because we don't have relationship with the earth. How do and when you don't have great relationship, and we're going to do tomorrow, we're getting ready to take our leave for today, but tomorrow we will do our Q&A. So if you want to go ahead and do some Q&A and have some questions and things like that for different things that we've talked about in the series or just in general, feel free to have those ready tomorrow on the Rising at 8 a.m. Eastern New York time. We'll go 8 a.m. till about 9:30 because we got to get ready for the podcast. I think it's Minister Tamara giving us the word tomorrow. Is that right? For Shabbat Shalom service. Minister Tamara been working overtime, boy. Minister Tamara all over the place lately. Let me see. Yep, Minister Tamara this Saturday and next Saturday. Praise God, right? But we don't even think about those things because we once again we have a better relationship with the store or the corporation or the United States corporation or the educational system that's not really educating. It's not bringing out yourself. You said the earth loves me. You generate electric currents when you walk barefoot. Okay, praise God. Just so true when we have people who try to make money off of the free earth. Yeah. And even money's not real because money is only, remember, money can only even be real if it's backed up by things from the earth. If it's not backed up by gold or silver, then it has no value. Your money has no value, but you say cryptocurrency has no value, but you'll be the first people to pull out your little card and say that my card has value. Right? My card has value. That's plastic. What's backing up the plastic? The only reason your check has value is because your check's supposed to be backed up by something. The only reason your life has value is because it's supposed to be backed up by something. That's what currency is. Currency is when we agree upon something. Who are you in agreement with about your life? And is that person you're in agreement with in your relationship, do they back it up with something tangible? Is there any kind of evidence? Is there any kind of manifestation that backs up your life? See that? Like relationship. When you get this relationship thing down, even animals comprehend relationship with the earth. When you recognize who you are in your nature, you will start to recognize who you are in your spirit. You said the money is not for free earth, but time and effort it takes to provide the yields of earth. Sure. Right? But it should be backing up something. Right? Money's not real. Money should be backed up by something that's real. Right? If somebody gives me labor for something, then yeah, I don't mind making sure that I give you something. I mean, I gave it for many years for people that didn't do anything for me anyways. You doing something for me? Shoot, let me sow into you. Right? But it's also once again, learn the nature of it. I treat watch this. I treat money like I treat food. I use it to feed something that's eternal. Food feeds the physical man, but the physical man is attached to the soul. The soul is attached to the spiritual man. So what I eat in the physical ultimately feeds my spirit. So if it don't feed my spirit, I don't need to sow into it. See, whatever you do with nature, it's just a microcosm. It's just a continued conversation. See, you got to start thinking about it like that. Is it backed up by something? What am I backing? See, whatever I pay into, I'm backing it up too. Whatever I'm paying for, I'm backing up. I'm sewing into. I'm putting on a higher level. Sometimes I sow because I'm led to, and that's it. I don't even know why. I don't even know why I'm sending somebody this money. I'll send them a little message, sowing a seed, and it might not even be much. It might be hundreds. It might be 800. It might be tens. It might be $5. Send somebody $25. Somebody says, you know what? And they sent me a message back crying. I was feeling like nobody cared about me in the world. I'm thinking it's just $25, but to them, it was a seed. It was backed up by something more powerful. I'm feeding people. You're feeding people. What are you feeding them? What are you feeding them? Is it worth what you're feeding them? Is it helping people to grow? Is it helping people to be greater, right? You got to ask yourself, like, what are you feeding? What are you feeding yourself? What are you feeding yourself? What are you feeding yourself? What are you feeding your children? What are you feeding your schools? I didn't say the schools your children go to, because those aren't even your schools. What are you feeding the people that put your culture on the big screen? Because Hollywood's not putting your culture on the big screen. What are you feeding people who cook your food? Because not everybody's feeding your community your food. If brothers don't speak there, must not be the South. I travel all over the place because I choose not to tell you exactly where I am. Right. But that's okay. I mean, people who know who we are, where we are, whatever, that's fine. I'm not, but at the end of the day, what are you feeding yourself? Right? Is your only knowledge of self through somebody else's prison? And do you only feed people who don't share your prism and don't care to know your prism, don't care to be led, don't care to have you lead yourself? Who are you feeding? Why are you feeding people that wouldn't even feed you? Why are your children being fed by people that won't even feed them? You know what? Like, why are your children being fed by people that if push came to shove, they wouldn't feed your children? I mean, we try to push. Please let my child into this institution. Please let, and then they start hating on your child. No, please treat my child with respect. Please do, and then they won't give your child give your child the grades they deserve. Please make sure you do that. But like, why are we begging people to do stuff that they're not trying to feed you? Right? Like, if somebody don't want me to eat at their house, I'm not gonna ask them permission to eat at their house. You got to be in tune with your nature. You got to be in tune with nature, right? Are you in tune with nature? Is this natural to you? Is it natural to you to pray? Who is it natural for you to pray to? Is it natural for you to sing hymns? Whose hymns are you singing? Is it natural to you to speak your language? Whose language do you speak? Is it natural to you to be a king? Whose kingdom are you in? Is it natural for you to be a queen? Whose queendom are you in? Is it natural for you to be a child of the Most High? Whose child are you? Like, these are things that we don't ever ask about, but this is all relationships. And these relationships, once again, what are they based off of? People are getting you into relationships based off of your needs and your wants. So now the question is, who supplies all my needs and wants? Because whoever supplies your needs, that's who you bow down to. Whoever supplies your needs, that's who you're going to bow down to ultimately. Hear me, Facebook. Hear me, YouTube. Hear me, TikTok. Hear me, anybody coming on any other platform, listen to the recording later on. Whoever you bow down to, whoever you supply, who supplies your needs, that's who you bow down to. This is why we're trying to get you to a place to where you're going to be unemployable, because there gets to be a place to where you won't have to start the business, because at some point you're going to have to stop making a choice. Some of you have a calling on your life where you're not going to be able to be in a situation to where you have to keep giving 50, 60, 70, 80 hours to people that don't allow you to be in the kingdom, right? There's going to be a point in your life to where something's going to have to break. Something got to give. You have too much in you to have to give it to people that don't care about you. Right? Something's gonna have to break. Your relationship's not gonna be able to be based off the same thing you've been in. You know, when my relationship really started to improve with the Most High. You wanna know when my preaching really started to improve. You wanna know when my lifestyle really started to improve. You wanna know when I really started going in an endeavor to become a husband. It's when I was homeless. You know why? Going back to the eternity and time thing, I had time and I had to make a decision. And people were already on me anyway, saying, well, you know what? He don't wear this. He ain't doing this and he ain't on our level and blah, blah. I had time. And then I tried immediately, as soon as I started making a little bit of bread, I was making all the bread outside of a 9 to 5. It was all involved in church work at the time, but church work, kingdom work, doing stuff, giving stuff for free, doing this, doing that. People then opening up places for me to stay. Somebody giving me a cheap place to stay in a room. That turned into an apartment place. I could start taking care of my family again, getting to a place to where I was still dealing with like not really being on the way I wanted. Met my wife when I was, even met my wife when I was homeless. Or not homeless anymore. I was going, I was doing transitional home. Right. Still, like it came out of, I came to myself when I had time. And I had a time to develop and nurture that relationship. And any relationship that was with me, it wasn't based off of money. It wasn't based off of how many hours do I work. It wasn't based off of this and that. It wasn't based off of, hey, we're only do like everything that was there. I could see it for what it was. I had time. If you only wanted me to be around because you thought I could play the piano well, I had time to see it. Sermons got developed. You know why? Because I didn't have a 9 to 5. I didn't have 40 hours. So I was literally walking around. I'd see ants on the ground. I see an ant colony. I'd start developing a sermon. I see the bus was late. And then when it got there, certain people were doing things to slow it down. And then when we were trying to get on our place, I would see people going through all time. I could see spirits on people. And I started developing sermons. I had time to be able to go to schools that I would have never had time to go to. I started working for a school, started helping them to develop a online curriculum. And when I was doing it, they said, well, you can't afford to go to school here, but we see you have a gift. You know what? Why don't you go ahead and start taking some of these classes that you're developing them anyways? You might as well sit underneath the teacher. You know what I'm saying? Like I had time. I was able to develop in the place, in the situations and things like that. I had time, even if you want to talk about suffering, I had time to suffer. Remember, by definition, suffering is a choice. So I had time to choose to suffer. I had time to choose to live under a certain way. I had time to develop. And there's going to come a place to where you're going to have more time. You're going to have time to develop those relationships, relationship with the Most High, with your family, with yourself, with your community, with your children, with nature, with your food. You're going to have time. It's coming, right? But you're also going to have to develop, right? Don't get out here and then the Most High puts you through something and says, "Okay, I'm gonna give you the time," and then you so busy worried about the suffering that you don't choose to develop through suffering. You hear what I'm saying? The suffering is mandatory. Romans 8:18 and Romans 8:19 should be read together. Romans 18 says, what the suffering of this present time is not worthy to be compared to the glory which shall be revealed. Romans 8:19, right behind it says, the creature, not the children, but the creatures is waiting on the manifestation of the sons of Elohim. So those who choose to suffer in this present time so they can see the glory on them of the Most High, because glory means the weight, the imprint, the heaviness. So people will see on you the glory of the Most High because you chose to suffer. And when they see that glory, those who are not children of the Most High will begin to change their lives because they saw you manifest into something that they themselves would love to become. Suffering is mandatory. You don't believe me, but who you deem to be your Messiah, Yahushua HaMashiach, or some of you call him other names. But the Messiah, he says, they say, well, tell us, Matthew 24, tell us what's going to happen. What should we look for at the end times, the eschatology? What should we look for in the study of the end times, the study of what will last and what will end? He says, cool, no problem. I got something for you. So, sorry, hold on one second. prayerfully everything's okay. Yes, sir. Sham, I'm up. Um, so, so, so he said the suffering. Where was that? Suffering is the present time that word be compared to the glory which shall be revealed, and the creature. The creature's waiting on you to manifest as the sons of Elohim. I don't remember where I was. I'm sorry, y'all. Time, suffering, time, suffering. Holy Spirit, help me. Time, suffering. I know it's time for us to take our leave, so it might be time for us to stop. Suffering is mandatory. Ugh. Suffering is mandatory. Suffering is mandatory. Suffering is necessary. Okay. So suffering is mandatory. Suffering is necessary. And you got to realize that suffering is going to happen. So don't allow Yah to put you in a position of suffering if you're not willing to extract everything out of it. You said suffering is a mental state. Yeah. Suffering is something that we should. See, there should be something that causes you to cost you something. Suffering means when you're being costed. When you fast, it costs you something. And yeah, there's beauty in fasting, but let us not deny, like, you know, blessed are those that mourn, for they shall be comforted. And I'm not coming against you. I just want to expound a little bit. Oh, Matthew 24. Thank you. Yeah. So blessed are those that are mourn. Now this is Matthew chapter 5, right? But blessed are those that mourn, for they shall be comforted. That's right after blessed are the poor in spirit, for the kingdom of heaven belongs to them. Those who are poor in spirit and want to be strong in spirit, the kingdom still belongs to you. And there are some things you're going to have to mourn through. But don't just focus on the mourning, focus through the mourning. The goal is not mourning, the focus is comforting, right? The don't focus on the mourning, focus through the mourning, right? Don't focus on what's terrible, focus on the end, towards an expected end. A lot of people focus on the morning, right? But focus through the morning. Um, Davad Mashalach or King David, he said that I will not give anything to the Most High unless it costs me something. If it doesn't cost me anything, then it's not valuable enough, right? Because I can't outgive him anyways. So if it doesn't cost me, right, I choose to suffer when I give, because he gave an offering. We don't comprehend what offerings are because we don't care to learn about it and we don't care about law, right? But he said, I'm going to suffer through. I'm going to fast through. I'm going to go through something. Or even if I give him anything, it should be something that makes me go, ugh. It should see, watch this. I'm killing my flesh. Praise Yah. What I'm doing is killing my flesh off. I'm crucifying the flesh daily. Every day I need to give an offering to the Most High that makes me go, watch this. Watch this. I don't have my stuff with me that I'd really like to use. But every day I should give something to him, right? I should have something that's for me. And I go, really? Like this is my house. This is like my car. This is like my I can't get into this or that. I can't go to the gym without this. I can't do this without. I can't travel around the country without that. I can't get on the plane without. You want this? I mean, no, I need that. I mean, this makes me feel great. You want no, you want my relationship? I would give you my relationship, but I mean, I know it's not a great relationship, but it's my You want me to give my relationship to you though? You see what I'm saying? It's got to start costing you something. It's got to start costing you something. I you know, I mean, I would give more time in prayer, but I would give you my time My children got a game today though, right? I would give you more prayer. I mean, I really, I love you. I would give you prayer, but I would give you this prayer, but um, well, I don't know. I'm not in the mood right now. I I would eat better. I really would. I would give up these bad eating habits, but I mean, you created milk. You made ice cream. I mean, you, you, you hear what I'm saying, right? If I give it up, it hurts. It hurts the drug addict to give up the drug, but when they get freed from it, they shake even. It doesn't feel great. It hurts. It hurts to give up the things we're addicted to, the coffees, the creams that go into coffees, the sugars, all of it. It hurts. You'll shake. There'll be times where it's because watch this comfort food. You're not comfortable with something, you immediately would go to this place. Pornography. Brothers ain't looking at pornography because they even want these women. They're looking at it because it's a default setting. It's a drug. People aren't smoking cigarettes just because they like. You think somebody likes the taste of cigarettes? People ain't smoking cigarettes because they like the taste of cigarettes. They like to breathe in and out. They like to take deep breaths. But they associate the poison with the deep breath. They associate the the sexual perversion with a release of energy. You're going to have to give some things that cost you something. I'm here to tell you, and it hurts. It's frustrating. It's maddening. It's sickening sometimes. People get sick when they get off drugs. People get sick when they stop having alcohol. Somebody who's an alcoholic, right? When that sister, when that brother, when they pour that alcohol down the sink, to you, you go, oh, that's great. You just pat them on the back. No, you need to praise Yah. You need to give them encouragement. You need to say, let's do something. Let's celebrate. Why? Because that alcohol bottle, that's a comfort. And if you're on, babe, it's 11:11. Thank you so much. Right? Yeah, that's comfort. That's comfort for that person. You know what I'm saying? That's comfort. That person who's giving up pork, pork is not just a thing. Pork is something where literally their family has been on pork. Their families have been on pork. This is not just a comfort food. This is not just fat. This is not just no. This is culture to them. They're saying that I'm willing to give this up because I realize this culture I'm not in is not correct. Like that's a big deal. But it's gonna cost you something. You said your ex-abuser burnt your house. Wow, you felt the world collapse. You see the Most High was redirecting you, yeah. And I mean, it's gonna cost you something, right? We trying to get rid of generational curses. It costs you. Think about this. Some of you guys are carrying things that you didn't ask to carry, but it is what it is. You're carrying things from people that were there 42 generations ago, 50 generations ago. Thousands of years you've been carrying some of this stuff. And now you're gonna be the one to break it off. Oh, it's gonna cost you something. Yeah, it's gonna cost you some sleepless nights because you're carrying generations on your back. But why not take it off your back? You can't carry it anyways. But your relationships will be key. Relationship with Yah, relationship with yourself, relationship with your spouse, relationship with your children, relationship with your community. And when I say relationship with Yah, this is Yah. This is Yah. If I could just touch the hem of his garment, start touching a little bit of hymns. Just a little verse here or there, a little dab will do you. An apple a day, keep the doctor away. You have a question, not sure how to shorten it? Well, feel free to give it. I'm not sure. We're gonna do Q&A tomorrow, so if you want to come on tomorrow, if you I know if you want to come on tomorrow with us when we get on at 8 a.m. Eastern New York time, feel free. Or when I'm on tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern New York time, we'll be doing Q&A. We'll have Minister Shantae with us, so she might be able to also answer the question as well. But you can ask the question real quick. I got to get ready to take my leave though, so however you feel like you need to put it, you can put it, and we'll see what we can do with it. All right, see what we can get this going. Thank y'all for coming on again. Hopefully they'll correct the Kofi _43 thing. If not, we'll just be here until they correct it, which at the most will be I guess next Friday. But hopefully we'll have that stuff on together. But thank y'all for being on. We appreciate you so much. We are glad and thankful and grateful to have you guys on with us. And we are honored to have you on and taking time to be with us today. We actually got background for the first time in a long time, so I'm excited about that. I really am. We will do our shout out, but you will probably get a message. Well, we'll do our shout out. I'll work it out. We'll make it work. We're gonna do our shout out. If you haven't been with us before, if you're on TikTok, we do our shout out on TikTok. So if you'd like to come over to TikTok and be part of what we do as far as the shout out over there, feel free to. But we're thankful and grateful to everybody who's on with us. Thank you for being on, whether you're on TikTok, YouTube, Facebook. And we hope to talk to you guys very soon. Class tonight, for those who have herbalism too, we appreciate you. Come on into class. I'm not, well, yeah. And that'll be at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern New York time. Thank you guys who came out last night for class, marriage class. If you miss any of our classes, or even if you want to join up later and you're going to be part of class or whatever, just feel free to get in contact with us. We're going to have our information. If you're on TikTok, it's going to pop up in just a second when we do our shout out. So if you've never seen us do our shout out, you'll see how that works in just a little bit. But we thank you guys again for being on. Please, as always, study this message, study this word, show yourself approved, that you can be a work and bring it before Elohim, that you can be a workman that needeth not be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. Also, too, please, ma'am, please, sir, take time out to keep each other in prayer. Remember, we still have a family that's in need that we're trying to help and bless. Their information will be up on the screen in a little bit as well. Don't forget to, if you're interested in shirts or different things like that, we had somebody that reached out the other day. I was asking you yesterday, if you can, please text us again. For some reason, I can't find your particular text, and make sure that I send you the information to get your items and stuff like that. But thank you so much. We honor you guys. Check out my wife, as always, the Honorable Maya, on TikTok, YouTube, or website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish, not A&D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. Tincture of the month is still stinging nettle, amongst many other tinctures that she has. And if you'd like to be able to set up some consultations or different things with her, just get in contact with her. You can text the number that'll be on the screen as well, and I can redirect you to her once I get your message. Thank you guys so much again, though. We appreciate you. We'll see you guys later this evening. Take care. Once again, Patreon family, we've been posting a lot for you guys, so feel free. We're trying to make sure now that the stuff that's going to be on tier 2 there, we're trying to make sure that once a day you're going to see it for free, so that once we get it there, those who decide to go to the next tier with us, you'll be able to get that stuff as well. Thank you for being a blessing to us, to the families. Continue to pray for YLP 83 as we get closer to finally being able to make a decision, and being able, really the main thing we've been working on is being able to make a payment. So so your donations have been helping, your prayers have been helping, and we have a lot of different things that have finally been focused in, and so we're thankful and grateful to everybody, even those who have maybe thought that we've fallen off or have fallen off or think that we've done whatever. I get it. It's been a stressful situation to go through, especially when they keep taking stuff down. It makes it difficult to make the stuff work out, but thank you for hanging in there. We're going to see some fruit very soon, and so I'm excited about that and thankful. Don't forget, September 29th through October the 6th is coming up. We've been sending out we have actually on the bottom of YouTube videos. I need to start making sure I add it to the Facebook videos. Forgive me, y'all. That will happen. That must happen. It will happen. But we do have the link for you guys to start filling out September 29th through October 6th. If you're coming for the whole time or a couple days or whatever, if you're interested in being part of the Feast of Tabernacles. So we have that information for you guys. And we're going to start having information for you guys to start sewing and things like that, because we do need to make sure that that stuff is going to be taken care of the way these holy days work. You'd be thinking something's not going to happen, and like it feels like 2 days later. You like 6 months passed in 2 days. That's what it feels like. So we thank you guys, though. We appreciate you. We honor you guys. Those that are in the DMV, we're looking at trying to come together again. Not tomorrow, but next Saturday. So we hope that you guys can meet up wherever the meetup will be there. And we thank you again. We appreciate you. We honor you guys. And we look forward to talking to you guys soon. So as always, take care of yourselves. Remember your affirmations: Romans 8:1, Romans 8:11, Romans 8:18, Romans 8:19, Romans 8:28, and the bonus, Romans 8:37. We look forward to talking to you guys this evening. If you would like to get in contact with us about anything, just stay on. If you're on TikTok, as soon as the music starts playing, as soon as we get everybody, all the other places there, we'll start our shout out. So if you'd like to participate in the shout out, just stick around for a little bit if you've never seen what that is. And we think it'll be a blessing to you. But thank you again. We honor your time. As always, this has been Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servant of Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time by being the voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. And until I have the great privilege, opportunity, and responsibility of being in front of you all again, please remember, as always, Yahshua, that you are loved, you are necessary, you're majestic, you are fearfully, wonderfully made, and you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be of it. All right, shalom, family, peace. If I don't see you later this evening, early Shabbat shalom to you. Take care. All righty. So let's go ahead and get into our shout out real quick. Let's get the shout out going. So if you've never done a shout out with us, this is how it works. Pretty easy.